subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
These things. So we didn't answer his question directly. Point 35. After listening to the words of the medic, the crane smiled lightly. Are you dreaming of becoming a Marine? You don't need to answer him for now. In addition, continue to treat him until he fully recovers. When he recovers, you ask him if he wants to join Marine. Didn't you want to know the reason for the fall of Diaz Barreros? Then let him find out for himself. Speaking of which, I'm also a little curious about why Diaz Barreros became a pirate. 5, by the way, ask a few people to carry a stretcher and wait for another patient. Hearing this, the medic nodded his head. Yes, Crane Vice Admiral. As the medics left, Crane's eyes turned to the location on the coast. In that blizzard, a vague figure slowly walked out. Razanani and that kid with the lead disease. Looking at the gradually clear figure, Crane couldn't help but whisper. On the coast, the blurry figure gradually became clear. Finally, after penetrating the last layer of the blizzard, Razanani, who was carrying Luo, fully revealed himself. Ta soon. Several medics carried stretchers off the warship. After chatting with Razanani, several medical soldiers put Luo on a stretcher and quickly trotted towards a medical room on the warship. Crane Vice Admiral. Stepping onto the warship, Razanani saluted the Crane Vice Admiral. Razanani, it doesn't need to be so formal. 35 shaking his head, the Crane said. This time, you'll come back to Naval Headquarters with me. As for that kid, just now, Naval Headquarters can be healed. 35. Although there are not many people with healing fruit abilities, there are exactly 2 in Naval Headquarters. When the time comes, call them to take action, and there is a high probability that the toxins in that little ghost will be removed. Hearing this, Razanani's face showed joy. Yes, Crane Vice Admiral. 35 waving his hand. Crane looked at Razanani's exhausted look. Okay, go find a house soldier and let him take you to rest. Otherwise, in the current state, it won't last long. Don't think that I will abuse you at that time. 39. Razanani bowed his head slightly after hearing Crane's words and left with the house soldier beside him. Seeing this, Crane turned around and stood on the deck and waited quietly. She did not travel to Mignon for island-wide exploration and search. After all, if someone really took the fruit of the operation, they would never stay on Mignon Island. Maybe they left the waters of Mignon Island on the spot after receiving the fruit of the operation. Therefore, Crane didn't expect anything from his adjutant to search for the Barrios Pirates camp. However, you still have to send someone to go there. After all, there's still people above who are very concerned about this matter. Moreover, if there are any other gains, there may be unexpected surprises, although the probability is not very large. Half an hour later, the adjutant sent by the Crane and the seamen of that team finally returned. These people are more or less carrying some of the belongings of the Barreros pirates and some other things. Crane Vice Admiral, the Barreros pirates are indeed destroyed. All the crew, including Captain Barreros, are dead. After we carefully searched those pirate ships, except for some belongings and other items. 35. There is no trace of the fruit of the operation. In addition, there is a trace of damage to a mechanism in the captain's cabin. Guess that there should be the place where the fruit of the operation was stored, but it was taken away. Hearing this, he gently nodded his head, turned, and walked towards his office. In that case, get out of here and head back to Naval Headquarters first. As for the pursuit of Doflamingo, we'll talk about it later. Behind him, the adjutant wrote down the Crane's order and hurriedly went to work. The warship left Mignon and sailed towards Naval Headquarters. Not long after, a figure wearing a pink feather coat landed from the sky in the camp of the Barreros pirates. Sigh. Looks like I'm late. 35 at this time. Under the blizzard, Doflamingo looked at the body of Barreros under his feet, and a tic-tac-toe blue vein appeared on his head. Looking left and right, Doflamingo's eyes narrowed slightly. Marine is here. Then, my dear brother, where are you now? 99. Did you take the fruit of the operation? But with your strength, there should be no way to destroy these pirates. On the other side, The returning warship encountered the fleet that was behind last night. At this point, Virgo followed behind a Marine branch colonel. Listening to the conversation between the Marine branch colonel and the Crane, Virgo glanced at the Crane's warship without leaving a trace. Suddenly, Virgo saw Rosinante's figure. As for Rosinante, Virgo knew, after all Doflamingo had shown in the picture before. In addition, at this time Virgo also saw Rosinante talking to a medic. Although shocked, but many years of undercover career have allowed Virgo to develop a good undercover quality. No matter how surprised he was in his heart, the expression on Virgo's face and the look in his eyes did not fluctuate in the slightest. It was as if he didn't know Rosinante at all. Okay, it's time for me to return to Naval Headquarters. This time a mission is canceled. You should go back to the branch first. 99 at this time. The voice of the Crane entered Virgo's ears. In this regard, Virgo did not speak, but stood silently behind. Okay. Crane Vice Admiral walked slowly. 39 in the front. Colonel of Marine Branch saluted the Crane Vice Admiral. Watching the warship on which Crane was riding gradually drifted away, the branch colonel also began to give orders to return. As the team disbanded, Virgo first went to have breakfast and then went to practice briefly, as usual. It wasn't until Virgo finished his daily exercise as usual that he returned to his room, sweating profusely. Lock the door, take out the phone bug from the hidden drawer, and walk into the bathroom of the room. First, I put my ears on the surrounding walls for a while and found nothing abnormal. Virgo turned on the shower and adjusted the sound of the water to the maximum. Then, taking advantage of this time, Virgo called Doflamingo again. Blue, blue, blue on Mignon Island. Doflamingo, who was searching for a pirate ship, suddenly heard the sound of a phone bug on his body. Oh, taking out the phone bug, Doflamingo couldn't help but look a little surprised. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Virgo, I called Li Zhao again after such a short interval, and it seems that something else happened. 35 answering the phone. Doflamingo didn't pay much attention to the sound of water flowing from the phone bug, but asked curiously, sigh, sigh, sigh. If something happens, tell me. On the other side, Virgo tried his best to lower his voice before putting the phone bug in his mouth. Dover, I see Rosinante. Hearing this, the eyes under Doflamingo's glasses shrank suddenly. Rosinante, chatter, chatter. You're Marine now? You see Rosinante. So he was caught by Marine? No. Virgo's voice came from among the phone bugs. I saw him free on the Crane's warship. By the way, he is not dumb, and the information you gave me is not accurate. When I saw him, he was able to speak normally to a medic next to him. And, looking at his behavior on the warship, he looks like a Marine. Dover, I think he should be Marine's undercover agent. 39 Virgo's words fell, but Doflamingo's voice did not sound for a long time. At this moment, Doflamingo's body stood on the spot. Killing intent filled his eyes. The anger caused several tic-tac-toe veins to pop up on Doflamingo's forehead. Dover, 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 listening to Virgo's call, Doflamingo slowly calmed down. However, the murderous aura that emerged from that body was getting stronger and stronger. 49, the operating table that eats the fruits of surgery, sigh, sigh, sigh. The calm Doflamingo didn't speak, but the laughter that came out became more and more distorted. See. So, it is so. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Holding the phone bug, the expression on Doflamingo's face became more and more contorted. My dear little brother went to Marine. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Even, he didn't hesitate to come to the Don Quixote family to be an undercover agent. 35. No wonder the Don Quixote's routes are often blocked by Marines. I should have thought of it earlier, but I just couldn't believe it. Even, I've been numbing myself. Whoa. Looks like I made a mistake in the end. Sigh, sigh, sigh. I know about this. Rosinante, I'll let him know the price of betrayal. Anything else? Virgo shook his head upon hearing this. No, next I will further obtain military merit. This point, also need the cooperation of Dover. Doflamingo's eyes narrowed slightly, and he smiled evilly. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Don't worry, there will be military exploits sent to you soon. Pat hanging up the phone, Doflamingo's face twisted again. Damn. 35, why? Why are you all against me? 35, haboom. The thin thread in his hand bounced out and shattered the boulders in the distance. Doflamingo's face was extremely hideous. Falling from heaven to hell, my mother fell ill and died. To be looked down upon and cast aside. To be tortured and tortured endlessly. All of this comes from that stupid father, 257. Why? Why, Rosinante? You can't understand me either. Dividis divot, no. From childhood to adulthood, in addition to sin and torture, the rest is endless betrayal. Sigh. What's wrong with me? It's the stupid father. It's the 5 immortals. It's the stupid draconians. Wrong. It's this world. Sigh. Crazy evil laughter resounded all around, and Doflamingo's hatred, resentment, and killing intent were vented crazily. Whoa. Since the world is wrong, then everything is sinful. 99. Rosinante, I'll see you again. Go. 35. In a flash. Doflamingo laughed wildly and led the clouds away from Mignon Island. It's just that on the coast around Mignon Island, I don't know when there are more transparent silk threads falling from the sky. Thousands of transparent silk threads fell from the sky to wrap the entire island of Mignon. And in the high altitude of the center of Mignon Island, a thread-like thing is suspended here. Thousands of transparent silk threads were ejected from this coil. Looking at it as a whole at this moment, the entire Mignon Island is composed of countless silk threads to form a huge arc-shaped birdcage from the air to the ground. Zzz. A harsh rubbing sound sounded, and countless transparent silk threads began to gather towards the center. Where the transparent silk thread passes, trees, stones, buildings are all chopped up by the silk thread. At the same time, the Aborigines on Mignon Island were all reduced to pieces in a panic. No one cares about the affairs of Mignon Island anymore, because Mignon Island, without any trace of the fruit of the operation, is a useless place for the major forces. No one but Doflamingo knows what happened at the end of Mignon. Under the endless snowstorm, everything will be covered by endless snow and ice. At this point, sailing on the dawn in North Blue. In EC's bedroom, when the time gradually came to noon, EC slowly woke up, sniffing the fragrance coming from beside him. EC slowly sat up with his hands on Monet's jade body. Subconsciously grasped with both hands, EC's spirit instantly recharged. Your Highness. Seeing EC get up, Monet also got up and served EC dressing and washing. As for Sugar, I woke up early in the morning and left the room. It seems to have become more plump recently. Standing in front of the floor-length mirror, EC stretched out his hand and squeezed Monet's astrum. His cheeks flushed slightly. Monet responded lightly, but shyly didn't answer. Instead, his hand speeded up and dressed EC quickly. EC looked at Monet in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror, reached out and squeezed her tender face. Be obediently waiting for this Highness to grow up. When that time comes, His Highness will eat you. Then, without waiting for Monet to say anything, EC left the dormitory directly. After going to the restaurant for a casual meal, EC went to the medical room. The fruit of the operation was obtained last night, and now is the time to test my ideas. A long time ago, EC recalled those items that ate devil fruits in the original book of previous life. And this devil fruit, EC intends to give it to an item to eat. Anyway, it can be extracted at any time. So EC is not worried about consuming this devil fruit. The medical room is located not far from the backup laboratory, and the medical equipment inside is fully equipped. Entering the medical room, EC walks straight to a huge operating table. This operating table is specially customized by EC. Before the voyage, EC planned all kinds of situations that he might encounter after the voyage. Among them, there is this kind of fusion of devil fruit and items. Therefore, when the construction of the Dawn was completed, EC prepared this operating table. With the power of the entire kingdom, build this huge operating table. The entire operating table is 3 meters kba long and 2 meters wide. Around the operating table, there are all kinds of robotic arms that can be freely controlled. In addition, a large number of medical tools are also inserted side by side on the side of the operating table. And under the tabletop of the operating table is a hollow medical drug storehouse. A large number of medical drugs are stored in this small hollow repository. And what EC has to do now is to first convert this operating table into a noble phantasm. Then use the ability of Wang Zhibao to fuse the operating table with the surgical fruits. According to the experience of the original work, even if the operating table is just a dead object, after the fusion of the surgical fruits, the operating table will definitely give birth to spirituality and wisdom. Not to mention, after the noble phantasm is transformed, the surgical fruit is clearly described. The surgical fruit has its own surgical space, room, and max-level medical skills. In other words, if the trial is successful, the operating table will become a medical holy hand. In the future, if someone is injured, they just need to lie down on the operating table, and the operating table will automatically use its ability to scan and treat. On top of that, EC has another crazy idea. If the operating table and the fruit of the operation are really successfully integrated, will it be possible to perform immortality surgery directly on people relying on full-level medical skills? If you can do ageless surgery, will it consume the life of the operating table itself? However, how should the life of the operating table be calculated? If you can't do ageless surgery, does it mean that the operating table has no lifespan at all? That being the case, if pure gold is found, is it possible to perform immortality surgery on people directly using pure gold as raw material? If it is really successful, does it mean that it is not just me, but also my parents, my concubines, loyal subordinates, and even the people of the entire kingdom? Everyone can gain immortality, thus bringing the kingdom into the age of immortality. This idea is crazy, but it is also worth a try. After all, during this period, EC did not need to pay any price. All it takes is some experimentation time. Looking at the operating table in front of him, EC shook his head to bring his scattered thoughts together again. Before the experiment is successful, all that is just my own thoughts. What we need to do now is the first step, integrating the operating table with the surgical fruits. He stretched out his hand and patted the operating table lightly, and in an instant, golden ripples instantly wrapped around the operating table and brought it into the treasure of the king. A golden light flashed in his eyes, and EC also entered the treasure of the king through a golden ripple. At the same time, a golden noble phantasm embryo turned into a ray of light and fell on the operating table, slowly merging with it. When a golden light flashed away, a brand new noble phantasm was quickly formed. Noble phantasm, operating table type, passive effective noble phantasm type, fixed noble phantasm, liberation. The wounded can recover weakly by lying on it. At a glance, it is obvious that this noble phantasm is very weak. However, when EC's eyes turned to the surgical fruit, there were flashes of light in his eyes. Although the noble phantasm of the operating table is weak, the fruit of the operation is very powerful. EC believes that after the fusion of the two, it will definitely become a brand new noble phantasm with powerful effects. With a gesture, the fruit of the operation appeared in EC's hand. Holding the golden surgical fruit that turned into a noble phantasm, EC slowly pressed it against the tabletop of the operating table. Among the treasures of the king, EC is like a real god. For the fusion of the two noble phantasms, EC can do it flawlessly, with waves of ripples appearing. Gradually, under the control of EC, the operating table grew a mouth on the table. As EC pressed the surgical fruit to the mouth finally wrapped the surgical fruit and sank into the operating table. As the fruit of the operation was eaten, the original ripples became more intense. Circles of golden ripples spread out around the operating table. The golden light completely enveloped the whole body of the operating table at this moment. With the absolute dominance of the king's treasure, EC can clearly feel it at this moment. The interior of this operating table is undergoing tremendous changes. 50. Evolution of the king's treasure. Noble phantasm of life. The operating table that was originally just a dead thing, at this moment, EC seemed to feel the sound of its breathing. Although it is said that in the realm of Kendo in this world, there's a sound of all things breathing. However, EC is now a great swordsman, and he can clearly see the difference between these two senses. The sound of all things breathing in the realm of Kendo can actually be seen as finding the different weaknesses of different enemies. By cutting off those enemies' weaknesses, you can directly cut off the enemy's slash or directly cut through the enemy's defense. And now the breathing sound on the operating table is more like a real life. Everything seems to have magically turned into a real life from nothing. And all of this stems from the fruits of surgery. After the surgical fruit is fully integrated into the operating table. At this moment, the golden light was released, and the entire king's treasure seemed to have an aura of vitality. As the owner of the king's treasure, EC also clearly felt the great changes in the king's treasure at this time. The original treasure of the king can only store dead objects, such as some items, weapons, and so on. However, the current king's treasure, which is like an evolution, made EC look shocked. The appearance of the entire king's treasure has not changed, but at the moment when the operating table fused the surgical fruit and evolved into life, the king's treasure seems to have evolved. Quietly, EC instantly realized the new ability evolved from the treasure of the king. The treasure of life, noble phantasm of life, transforming living beings into noble phantasms. EC has absolute control over it. The noble phantasm of life maintains absolute loyalty to EC. Not only that, when a noble phantasm is injured or dying, it can be recovered by the treasure of the king. Even as long as the dead body is placed in the treasure of the king, the noble phantasm of life can be reborn again. In any case, EC never imagined that the treasure of the king could still evolve. In addition to turning dead objects into noble phantasms before, a new life, noble phantasm, has been added. The moment he learned the true meaning of the noble phantasm, EC's eyes lit up, and even the operating table that had been fused was temporarily forgotten. Noble phantasm of life. This is noble phantasm of life. Think about it. As long as a strong man is fused with the noble phantasm embryo, the strong man will increase his loyalty to EC and never betray, in addition to retaining his complete independent consciousness and emotion. This kind of ability is just like the contract system in the novels of the previous life. All along, EC has been worried about two issues. First, within the kingdom, the loyalty of senior officials, generals, and their subordinates. This is something that every high-ranking person must think about, because in the game between power and power, it is possible that the rebellion of an important role will make all sides lose. Therefore, the superiors of all forces will do their best to ensure the loyalty of their subordinates. Professional brainwashing, cultivating feelings from childhood, high interests, moral shackles, etc. All the means are to enhance the loyalty of the subordinates. But now, with the function of the noble phantasm of life, his subordinates can guarantee absolute loyalty. EC is not pedantic. If the noble phantasm of life completely erases a person's character and self-awareness, then EC will not turn his subordinates into noble phantasm of life. What EC needs is a subordinate with self-awareness, ability, and characteristics, not a group of puppets. However, the noble phantasm of the king's treasure can not only retain the self-integrity of independent consciousness and emotion, but also will not transform the human body. It is just that absolute loyalty is implanted in the noble phantasm of life, and it can even be reborn after being killed, with all kinds of benefits. EC is of course in existence who wants to turn all his subordinates into noble phantasms of life. Second, within the kingdom, there is a shortage of high-end combat power. Don't look at the fact that before going to sea, EC swore to King Law that the kingdom's high-end combat power could deter the major forces of the sea after it grew up. However, at that time, EC knew very well that even if he could become a general emperor, he would not be able to completely deter the sea. After all, it is only one of the emperor-level powerhouses, not the only general emperor-level powerhouse. Therefore, EC will look for the Vinsmoke family to build a laser cannon as a deterrent force after going to sea. And now, with this function of the noble phantasm of life. EC can completely subdue some strong men, turn them into noble phantasms of life, and become his most loyal fighter. Even if he can attack the entire Marine executives in one go, plus some other powerhouses, he might be able to directly challenge the world government. Standing among the treasures of the king, EC couldn't help but think about it. However, after some thought, EC quickly regained his senses. All these things that were imagined before need to be planned and implemented step by step. However, now that the treasure of the king has changed, the spatial environment of the treasure of the king also needs to be slightly changed. After thinking for a while in his mind, EC's mind moved, and the entire king's treasure began to undergo earth-shaking changes. At the center, the thick golden chaotic aura began to condense, gradually turning into thick clouds. Now, standing on this thick cloud layer composed entirely of golden chaotic aura, one can feel the soft feeling coming from the soles of the feet. However, in the final analysis, this is still an illusory continent composed of golden chaotic aura. However, EC already has an idea about this. On the sky island of the Grand Line, there is a need for island clouds. As long as those island clouds are moved into the treasure of the king and the noble phantasm embryo, this piece of land can be transformed into the real cloud continent. Above the continent of clouds, strands of golden chaotic aura flowed indistinctly, forming strands of breeze and golden auspicious clouds. Taking a glance at the slightly scribbled new environment, EC disappeared into the treasure of the king in a flash. When he reappeared, EC had come to the edge of Dawn's deck. With a wave of his hand, endless golden ripples covered a large area of the sea nearby under the surprise of Monet, Dylan, and others. Whoa, 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 the sea water is churning. The endless sea water and the fish, shrimp, crabs, and other marine creatures swimming in the seawater are all included in the treasure of the king. This time, EC did not enter the king's treasure again, but summoned the king's treasure three-dimensional projection to appear in front of him. Under the control of EC, great changes are taking place within the king's treasure. A large number of seawater and marine creatures from the outside world continue to pour into the treasure of the king. In the end, under the control of EC, the seawater merged with a large number of noble phantasm embryos to surround the cloud continent and turn it into a golden ocean. Under the golden ocean, countless noble phantasm embryos sank into it. Not only that, those marine creatures and marine plants that entered the king's treasure with the seawater are also adapting to the new environment. 4 flowers 0 after the earth and ocean were completed, EC controlled a large number of noble phantasms and ascended into the sky of the king's treasure into golden stars. As for the various materials originally located in the treasure of the king, they were divided into a separate area as a storage place for materials. Looking at the interior of the king's treasure, which had completely changed in just a short world, EC couldn't help showing a smile on his face. Now, as long as the continent of clouds can be built, King's treasure can be regarded as a real small world. As for the biological chain, natural resources, seawater flow, and other issues in the treasure of the king, the treasure of the king will solve it by itself. What EC needs to do is to continuously expand the small world continent and the diversity of flora and fauna of King's treasure. Thinking about being able to carry a small world with you, how touching it is. Your Highness, what kind of power is this? After everything calmed down, Monet and others gathered here, curiously behind EC. After seeing the three-dimensional projection of the treasure of the king in front of EC, Xiatang curiously stuck out his little head from behind EC. Reaching out his hand and gently stroking Sugar's little head, EC also discovered the curious minds of the others. With a slight smile, EC spoke. "This is my innate ability. I call it the treasure of the king, and my innate ability has just evolved. You have all used the noble phantasm, and the noble phantasm is derived from my innate ability. Just now, I merged the fruits of surgery with an operating table into a brand new noble phantasm. 39. And then, because this brand new noble phantasm is a different life noble phantasm, my king's treasure has evolved directly. A hand waved gently, and then a golden ripple turned into a golden uzumaki on the deck. Come in with me, and by the way, transform you all into noble phantasms of life. After becoming the noble phantasm of the king's treasure, after being seriously injured, entering the king's treasure will automatically recover, even if you're accidentally killed by the enemy. As long as the body is placed in the treasure of the king, you can slowly resurrect. After hearing EC's words, everyone on the deck suddenly took a deep breath. Hey, self-healing of serious injuries. Also, resurrection. Opening their mouths, everyone only felt a little dreamy, and everyone wondered if they were dreaming. Otherwise, how could there be such an outrageous thing? You know, it is resurrection, although EC said that he would transform himself and others into noble phantasms of life. Everyone didn't care at all, because everyone knew very well that EC would never harm people like him. Moreover, everyone's loyalty to EC is obvious to all. Therefore, after EC entered the treasure of the king with sugar, Monet, Dylan, Eli, Aldo, and others followed and walked in. If it was the previous king's treasure, Monet and the others would not be able to come in at all, because at that time, the king's treasure could not have other beings come in except for the owner, EC. However, after the evolution of the treasure of the king, it has evolved into an environment suitable for biological survival. As long as EC allows it, other creatures can also enter the king's treasure. And this is also the fundamental reason why Monet and others were able to follow EC and enter the king's treasure 10. 51. A little angry operating table. Hey, brilliant, atmospheric, spacious, noble. Is this the unique ability of your highness? You can feel a majestic aura when you just came in. What a beautiful place, golden ocean, auspicious cloud-like continent. There are even fish living in the golden ocean. His Royal Highness is indeed the greatest prince of the Helios Kingdom for thousands of years, and he actually possesses such abilities. Perhaps your Highness is the reincarnation of a god. 9. You are so right. I feel the same way. 35. Walking into King's treasure. Everyone looked at the splendid scenes around them like a new world, and couldn't help but burst out in amazement. Taking the crowd into the continent of clouds, EC put down the sugar. With a slight grasp of the golden ocean, a large number of noble phantasm embryos rose from the bottom of the sea to the sky in front of everyone. Pick up the noble phantasm embryo in front of each of you and press it against your own body. Looking at the crowd, EC pointed to the noble phantasm embryo in front of them and said, when the noble phantasm embryo is fully integrated into your body, you will become the noble phantasm of life. In the future, when you're injured, you can come here for healing. Even when your 257 die unexpectedly, as long as the corpse is placed here, the body can be reborn and resurrected. Hearing this, everyone frantically looked at the noble phantasm embryo in front of them. At this moment, Dylan, Avery, She-Mastiff, Orton, 11 members of the Apocalypse team, Monet, Xiatang. A total of 17 people can't help reaching out and grabbing the noble phantasm embryos in front of them. As EC said just now, everyone pressed the noble phantasm embryos to their bodies. Buzzing as everyone began to fuse the noble phantasm embryos, waves of ripples began to appear in the entire area in an instant. The buzzing sounded. EC could clearly see that the noble phantasm embryo was gradually merging with everyone. A golden beam of light descended from the sky and enveloped everyone. A large amount of golden, chaotic aura came crashing down, constantly promoting the fusion progress of the noble phantasm embryo and everyone. Under the control of EC, the fusion speed of everyone suddenly accelerated. Under the shroud of endless golden light, in just 3 minutes, everyone woke up again. At this time, EC also discovered that even without the use of light-transmitting glasses, he could clearly know everyone's attribute panel. Even because EC is the master of the king's treasure, he has absolute control over all noble phantasms. Therefore, if EC wants to, he can also directly and remotely control the bodies of everyone. And even consciousness comes and takes over their bodies. Your Highness. The moment everyone woke up, they saluted EC neatly. The fanaticism in those eyes showed everyone's loyalty to EC at this time. This kind of loyalty is imperceptible. If you are loyal to EC like everyone else, you will not feel much change. However, if it is completely disloyal to EC after becoming a noble phantasm of life, it is easy to notice this change. However, even if he discovered this, he couldn't make any changes. In the end, under the imperceptible influence, his heart would become more and more loyal to EC. After seeing that there was no difference in the crowd, EC nodded slightly. It was found that after everyone had the will of absolute loyalty, the others did not change at all. EC is extremely satisfied with this, and as a result, his subordinates who are absolutely loyal and have good mental awareness are newly released. The noble phantasm of life is different from the noble phantasm of the dead. The noble phantasm of the dead, such as the great knife buried in the sea, becomes the noble phantasm and will acquire the sword of burial of the sea. But the noble phantasm of life will not have any superfluous changes. In addition to a panel that can view self-attributes, the rest are the two abilities of self-healing and resurrection. The noble phantasm of life is not like the noble phantasm of dead objects, and after becoming a noble phantasm, there will be more magical liberation abilities. Familiarize yourself with the new ability. I believe you have already felt it. EC smiled lightly and reminded everyone. Yes, Your Highness. Hearing this, everyone was also excited. Under EC's signal, everyone left the king's treasure through the golden Uzumaki. Back on the dawn, everyone immediately found a position and began to familiarize themselves with the new abilities. On the deck, Monet sat with Sugar. Sister, look at my property panel. It's so simple. Monet reluctantly touched Sugar's hair and said, I'm not the same, except for a snow fruit. There is nothing else. Yours is fine, and it's specially marked with all the toy legions you have now. 35, he. Xiaotang heard this and smirked twice. It's really good to have this. I don't have to count my toy army every time. Indeed, the attribute panel can clearly display our personal information and abilities. Nodding his head lightly, Monet exclaimed, in the future, the existence of the attribute panel will allow us to know our current weak points. 55, for example. Now the two of us don't have Master Haki. His Royal Highness has already given us the noble phantasm of the two-color Haki training manual. So, Sugar, work hard. Don't give up the practice of two-color Haki while training your toy army. Don't worry, sister. Hearing this, Xiaotang responded with a serious look. Attribute panels are not unfamiliar to everyone. After all, they all have ID cards on their bodies. Even Monet and Sugar later obtained their own ID cards during their studies with Lina. On the ID card, there is also an ultra-abbreviated version of the personal attribute panel. But now, the attribute panel obtained by everyone have a lot of detailed information. In addition to personal information, even a master skill proficiency has a detailed division. When everyone was familiar with their own attribute panel, EC and the Treasure of the King also opened his own exclusive personal panel. With such a huge change in King's Treasure, his personal attribute panel will definitely change as well. With the appearance of a light curtain, rows of information were listed and displayed one after another. Treasure of the King. Helios EC, 9 years old, combat strength, S, elite vice admiral level, physical fitness, A, ordinary vice admiral grade, swordsmanship low level, great swordsman, ultimate swordsmanship / ultimate swordsmanship instant / conqueror's Haki intermediate, shock, intimidate, armed color Haki advanced, hardened, twisted, exposed, observation Haki advanced, large-scale detection, breath lock, danger warning, devil fruit, vampire fruit advanced, speed, vampire, self-healing, bat wing, thousands of bats, the king's treasure carrying the world, golden ocean, cloud continent, noble phantasm stars, sea creatures, sea plants life, noble phantasm strange treasure, operating table, fruit of surgery, noble phantasm of life body made, Monet, snow fruit, Sugar, children's fruit, life noble phantasm kingdom subordinates, Dylan, lung fruit, Ellie lion fruit, she mastiff, Tibetan mastiff fruit, Orton, Cloud, Elephant Fruit, Aldo, Aiden, Pius, Silva, Solabun, Lagai, Spenet, Benoni, Lavert, Felina, Damien, Noble, Phantasm of Dead Objects, Cold Soldiers, and Hot Martial Arts. Dequidao, Sea Burial Swordsmanship, Pluton Sword, Pluton Swordsmanship, North Blue Swordsman Saber, X 300 plus, more than 300 types of swordsmanship. Dead Object Noble Phantasm Training Manual. Several training manuals for arm color hockey. Several training manuals for observation hockey. Several training manuals for basic swordsmanship, noble phantasms of dead objects, other treasures. Dung fruits, light transmitting glasses, airships. Dead treasures and living objects. ID cards, aged wine, crystal cups, natural diamonds, high-quality tea sets, special royal cigarettes. King's Treasure Reserve sundries. Some living materials, some food materials. Looking at the attribute light curtain with huge changes in front of him, EC has a good understanding of his current situation this time. Hey, I just said that I seem to have forgotten something just now. Putting his eyes on the strange treasure column on the attribute light curtain, EC's head suddenly flashed. At this time, EC remembered that his main purpose this time seems to be an operating table that incorporates the fruits of surgery. Who knows that because of the evolution of the treasure of the king, his attention has shifted to the treasure of the king. Looking at the noble phantasm stars in the sky, EC waved his hand slightly and saw a star descend from the sky and landed in front of EC. When the light dissipated, the stars in front of him turned into the appearance of an operating table. Only 1.0, but EC's mouth twitched involuntarily as he looked at the operating table, which was covered with mechanical arms making rejection gestures. Of this, at the very least, it can be shown that a dead object will indeed change into life after being fused with a devil fruit. Moreover, it can also have super spirituality and considerable wisdom. Cough, cough. After coughing twice, EC was about to speak. However, the robotic arm controlled by the operating table in front of him was combined in the air into 4 words. I don't listen. To this, EC was a little dumbfounded. This, I really can't get it right. Looking at the operating table in front of him, EC was really speechless. Isn't this guy angry? Is it because he did not pay attention to it when it was just born, but only pays attention to the treasure of the king? Cough, little guy, what's the matter with you? Although there are some guesses in his heart, EC still wants to ask first. Although the operating table can't speak, it is certain to have wisdom. It may even be because the fruit of the operation comes with full-level medical skills, so that the operating table has the ability to read. Otherwise, the combination of those mechanical arms just now cannot be explained without listening to the 4 words 52 new member of Dawn. Heel sugar eyes listening to EC's questioning voice. The operating table slightly turned its direction. Immediately, several black lines appeared on EC's forehead. Although this operating table has a personality, I don't even want to communicate with myself. However, EC did not rely on his absolute dominance over the king's treasure to forcefully control the operating table. After all, for such an interesting new kid, it would be boring to force control. So, EC touched his chin, pondered for a while, and said, Cough, little guy. Is it because I neglected you before? 95. Okay, don't be angry, okay. At this moment, after hearing EC's words, the whole table trembled slightly. If EC hadn't been keeping an eye on it, he wouldn't even have discovered this scene. After seeing this scene now, EC's mouth couldn't help but outline a smile. Turning his eyes slightly, EC's mind began to quickly recall some words he had used to coax children and pets in his previous life. I accidentally ignored you before. It's my fault. Don't be angry. Now that everything is settled down, we can be regarded as officially acquainted. It's not good to keep calling you little guy. Let me give you a name. Having said this, EC's eyes were fixed on the operating table in front of him. I saw that when the voice just fell, the body of the operating table moved slightly again. Immediately, a strong smile appeared in EC's heart. Come, turn around and let me take a good look. While saying 22, EC took 2 steps forward and stretched out his hand to pat it on the table lightly. I'll give you a name that suits you best. How? Hearing this, the operating table, with some joy in his heart, also slowly turned around his own table. Seeing this, EC also smiled slightly. Fortunately, his heart was only born with wisdom, so he was so good at speaking suddenly. Eyes widened slightly on the operating table, EC nodded and said with a pretense, "Well, since you are an operating table, and you have eaten the fruit of the operation, then your medical skills must be at their peak. In this world, there is absolutely no one else who can compare to you." Hearing EC's praise, the body of the operating table trembled a few times, expressing his happiness. That being the case, everyone wants to be safe while they are being treated. As a doctor, of course, you can also treat the injured safely. 99. So, you will be called in from now on. How about that? Peace and peace. Hearing this, the operating table suddenly trembled slightly. All the mechanical arms waved involuntarily. Standing beside EC, he could clearly feel the joy expressed by the operating table. Looking at the operating table like a child, EC couldn't help but smile. A light flashed in his mind. Speaking of which, this special life is still very interesting. In the future, some special devil fruits can be selectively fused with items to transform into this special life. Anyway, the treasure of the king is special. Even the superhuman devil fruit can make the fused items have spirituality and wisdom. In the original work, those who fuse items to have wisdom are basically fused with animal-type devil fruits. And in EC's Treasure of the King, superhuman devil fruit fusion items can also give birth to spirituality and wisdom. Therefore, the Treasure of the King is special. Okay, let's go out with me to meet new friends. Reaching out, EC tapped the operating table lightly. In the future, if you don't want to stay in the king's treasure, you can live outside. After saying that, EC turned around and walked towards the golden Uzumaki beside him. Seeing this, the operating table quickly controlled several robotic arms that turned into saws and followed EC's back. Not only that, but when I felt that my body was a little too big, operating table Anne is also able to adjust her body size autonomously. Just like now, following behind EC, the operating table's body changed from 3 meters long and 2 meters wide to the size of a brick. Walking in front, EC's observation Haki was a little surprised when he discovered this scene. Unexpectedly, the operating table was able to grow and shrink freely. With a thought, the information light curtain of the operating table appeared in front of EC. While walking slowly, EC set his eyes on the information light curtain in front of him. Noble Phantasm. Operating table in surgery fruit ability / no side effects. Type. Active Noble Phantasm. Type. Fixed Noble Phantasm. Liberation. Vitality recovery. Surgery space room. Medical skills max. Freedom to enlarge and shrink. Looking at the information light curtain in front of him, EC raised his brows slightly. Unexpectedly, the operating table has changed so much after the fusion of the surgical fruits. From a passively effective Noble Phantasm to an active effective Noble Phantasm. But this is very reasonable. After all, the previous operating table did not have life. But now the operating table is already alive, and all its actions are subjective. As for the current capabilities of the operating table, the original weak recovery of vitality has evolved into vitality recovery. Not only that, the ability of the fruit of surgery has also been transferred to the operating table, and there is an additional ability to grow and shrink. Turning off the information light curtain, EC is very satisfied with the changes in the operating table. In the future, with the existence of the operating table and if there are wounded or sick on board, it will be saved. In addition, it has certain wisdom and super spirituality, and it may be able to develop its own skills. With the operating table Anta out of the treasure of the king, he appeared on the deck of the Dawn in an instant. At this time, there are only Monet and Xiatang in this position, and the others are in other places. Your Highness, after seeing EC's figure appearing, Monet and Sugar gave EC a salute. Nodding lightly, EC smiled softly at the two girls. Come, let me introduce you to the new members of our ship. 35 after saying that, EC took a step to the side, revealing the figure of an on the operating table behind him. Suddenly, the operating table who had not responded for a while, froze in place. Hey, What's this? A new toy. After seeing the operating table and Xiaotang's eyes suddenly lit up slightly. After all, the size of this brick, the operating table with a large number of mechanical arms looks like a strange little toy. Hey, sister, look, it can still move by itself. It turned out that the operating table protested with the twisting robotic arms after hearing Xiaotang's words. Not only that, when protesting, he also used a robotic arm to form words to say something from time to time. Looking at the operation table and's movements, Monet and Sugar were extremely surprised. It can be said when it moves, and it can even be combined into words. Aside, EC smiled and said, "This is the operating table. The name is N, and it is a person with the ability to eat the fruit of surgery. In the future, if you're injured or sick, you can seek treatment from it. It's going to be our ship's doctor from now on. Don't look at how small it is now. It can grow and shrink freely." 35 while talking, EC found a reclining chair at random and lay down lazily. "By the way, Monet, you have time to introduce and to everyone on the boat. Let everyone know about it." Hearing this, Monet nodded lightly. "Okay, Your Highness." Looking at the operating table and Monet's eyes fluctuated slightly. Glancing at Sugar's left eye with glasses, Monet couldn't help but have an idea in his heart. For the fruit of surgery, Monet was well aware of its capabilities. So, although Monet really wants the operating table and will now give Sugar to treat her left eye, however, she knew very well that there was always time for this kind of thing. The most important thing now is to first introduce the new member of the operating table and to the people on board. And come with me, I'll take you to meet the other people on the boat. Gently said 257 to the operating table and Monet led the way slowly. "Now I'm going too." Seeing Monet's figure, Sugar immediately followed. Seeing this, the operating table first glanced at EC, who was lounging on the reclining chair. Then he controlled his body to grow a little bigger and followed behind Monet and Sugar. At night, after a day, on the dawn, everyone basically knew the new crew member of the operating table At this time, in a medical room set up in Dawn. Here, in the future, it will be the exclusive house of the operating table At this moment, EC, Monet, and Sugar are all here, and besides, the operating table will be back to its original size. Looking down at the Sugar, EC reached out and touched her little head. "Lie down and treat your left eye. In the future, you won't have to wear glasses all the time. After all, there are always inconvenient times to wear glasses all the time." On the side, Monet also gently pulled up Sugar's little hand. "Sugar, let's go." Hearing this, Xiaotang reached out and touched his single-sided glasses and responded softly. Click. Seeing this, the operating table directly stretched out the mechanical arm and gently grabbed Sugar's body. Bring it to your own platform, and several mechanical arms start to move. First, pick up the fixing belt and fix the Sugar body on the table. Then, a small lamppost with bright lights went up. Quietly, a dose of sleeping pills was injected from the bottom of Sugar's feet. As the Sugar stumbled to sleep, the operating table began to treat the Sugar. Seeing this, EC pulled Monet slightly away from the operating table. After all, with the ability of the fruit of surgery, the eyes of the Sugar will definitely be cut. That being the case, I was afraid that Monet couldn't help rushing up to disturb the rescue work on the operating table after seeing it. Therefore, EC pulled Monet back a certain distance. 53 looking for the location of the Kingdom of Germa, standing not far away. Under the gaze of EC and Monet, the operating table began to restore the vision of the left eye to the Sugar. Invisibly, a hemispherical surgical space was quietly formed. At the same time, a robotic arm of the operating table picked up an operating table and cut it slightly against the Sugar. I saw that as Monet's pupils tightened. He could see that Sugar's upper head and lower head were directly divided into two. If it weren't for EC holding her tightly, and Monet wouldn't have seen the blood dripping from Xiaotang's body. I'm afraid just now Monet will rush up in an instant. Then, the scalpel slid again, and Sugar's left eye was silently separated from the head. Numerous nerves and brain veins are also separated along with the left eye. Next, as more and more robotic arms, handheld medical tools, and medicines are involved, EC and Monet could only stand not far away and watch silently. For things like medical skills, both of them probably know some common sense things. But for professional medical knowledge, EC and Monet do not have so much knowledge reserve. Fortunately, until now, everything on the operating table seems to be moving smoothly. With the passage of time, gradually, under the action of the fruit of the surgery, Sugar's body began to slowly return to its original shape. The heads merged into one, the eyes returned to their original positions, and the original single-sided glasses were directly thrown into the trash by a mechanical arm. In the end, when the invisible surgical space dissipated, Monet couldn't hold back any longer and ran up. Standing beside the operating table, Monet didn't see any difference, and Xiaotang, who fell into a deep sleep, let out a sigh of relief. Although I don't know if Sugar's eyes have been cured, Monet's heart that he had been mentioning at this time also slowly relaxed. Aside, EC was waiting curiously. For the first treatment on the operating table, EC was also very curious about the final result. You know, Sugar's left eye problem has been in the past for several years. 10 minutes later, Sugar's fingers moved slightly. Immediately afterwards, as his eyes slowly opened, Sugar's body slowly sat up. Looking at Sugar with a dazed expression, Monet couldn't help but let out a soft cry. Hearing this, Xiaotang turned his head to look and suddenly felt a little joy. "Sister, am I not treating my left eye? Why did I fall asleep?" Afterwards, Xiaotang touched his head and asked with some doubts. Seeing this, Monet smiled lightly. "Having finished treatment, do you feel any difference now, 39? Has the treatment finished?" The expression was slightly stunned, and the Sugar was a little stunned. As he put his mind back on himself, Tang felt that what his eyes saw seemed to be different. "Sister, I feel that what I see is very clear," Xiaotang said, and reached out his hand to close his right eye, and only looked around with his left eye. The originally blurred picture. At this moment, Xiaotang only felt an unprecedented clarity. Then he opened his right eye and looked around with both eyes. Xiaotang only felt that he no longer had the feeling of incongruity he had before. "Sister, my eyes are better." Sugar, who was extremely happy in her heart, jumped up on the operating table and rushed towards Monet. Seeing this, Monet could only hold the Sugar in his arms. Seeing Sugar's excited appearance, Monet's heart was also filled with joy. After the two women were excited for a while, they slowly calmed down. Immediately afterwards, Monet took the Sugar and thanked the operating table, and, on the side, EC touched his chin and sighed inwardly. As expected of the fruit of the operation, with full medical skills, even the left eye of Sugar, which has been in trouble for several years, can fully recover. In this way, the operating table has been able to fully perform the role of the ship doctor. When sailing on the sea, time flies so fast. It has been 7 days since the eyes were cured with Sugar. For 7 days, the Dawn has been sailing towards the Kingdom of Germa. However, the Kingdom of Germa has no fixed territory. Therefore, Dawn can only search around North Blue based on the available intelligence. Although the location of the Vinsmoke family has never been found. But the Dawn has been very lively for the past 7 days. Every day, someone goes to the operating table and for treatment. After all, everyone has some secret injuries more or less. Thus, for the past 7 days, Operating Table N has become the most popular member of the entire Dawn. Every member who went to find the operating table and healed was full of praise for and after that. At the same time, EC has not been idle for 7 days, except for Monet and other 17 people. On the whole ship, the rest of the people, including Lena and other maids, scientists, sailors, etc., were all transformed by EC into noble phantasms of life. After all, when you go overseas, it is inevitable that there will be surprises. After becoming the noble phantasm of life, at least life is guaranteed to a certain extent. Even EC planned to organize a life noble phantasm transformation ceremony after returning to the kingdom. Transform everyone in the entire kingdom into noble phantasms of life, so that the people of the kingdom can avoid accidental death. Some people may say that, in this way, EC's treasure of the king feels a bit of an illusion of a bad street. However, EC didn't think too much about it. After becoming the noble phantasm of life, the loyalty is full, and the kingdom will truly become a harmonious country. All people will live according to EC's will, without sin, unite and build a harmonious and friendly country. With such a powerful ability, EC certainly won't let it go. To this end, EC has been developing his own king's treasure for the past 7 days. It is planned to develop one or more king's treasure teleportation circles that can be temporarily or permanently opened. At that time, the people of the kingdom would not need EC to go to each place by himself. As long as the teleportation circle is set up, all the people will be teleported into the small world in the treasure of the king. After the noble phantasm embryo is automatically fused, it will automatically be sent out of the king's treasure. If you want to rule, then you must rule with absolute strength. The absolute loyalty ability of King's Treasure is an important step in his absolute rule. For this idea, EC has been developing it continuously for the past 7 days. North Blue, the Kingdom of Fairwick. At this time, this kingdom is full of wars all over the place. Numerous clone troopers from the Kingdom of Germa looted all over the Kingdom of Fairwick. The Kingdom of Germa is a country of science for generations, with superb technology as a strong backing. The soldiers of the Kingdom of Germa are basically genetic clone soldiers, and they also wear a lot of advanced weapons. This time, because of the employment of the hostile forces in the Kingdom of Fichk, the Kingdom of Germa accepted the employment mission to invade the Kingdom of Fichk. Today's Germa Kingdom is not as strong and invincible as before. In this era of great pirates, the Kingdom of Germa is still able to sail in the North Blue. However, the combined defeat of the North Blue countries had already caused the Kingdom of Germa to suffer heavy losses. Therefore, the present Kingdom of Germa, after losing its territory, can only rely on selling weapons and accepting employment as the kingdom's economic source. The current Fichk Kingdom belongs to a non-joined country, so the moment they received the employment task, the Germa Kingdom accepted it without hesitation. It is also because of this that the present scene exists. The entire Fichk Kingdom was full of wars, and the towns and cities in the kingdom were in ruins. The traces of a large number of shells were extremely obvious. At this moment, in the royal palace of the Fichk Kingdom, all 3 10-year-old princes of the Vinsmoke family have entered here. Grand Prince Vinsmokage. The right eye is covered by fiery red hair. The left eyebrow is turned left, wearing sunglasses, wearing a white silk scarf, wearing a white cape. The cape symbol is 1 inch. The clothes bear the Germa 66 logo, and they wear special white gloves and belts. With high-tech combat technology that can control flames to fight, it is also called Spark Red. Second Prince, Vinsmoke Niji. He has wavy blue hair that's straight on the side, curly eyebrows that are counterclockwise, black goggles, and a pair of black ear protectors. Wearing a black cape with the number 2 written on it, yellow metal gloves, and a belt with a lightning bolt, and a blue combat uniform. It has high-tech combat technology that can control electric shocks to fight, also known as Electric Shock Blue. Fourth Prince, Vinsmoke Yuji. The eyebrows are turned to the left, the green, pointed hairstyle, and the appearance is very similar to Sanji of the original Straw Hat group, where headphones, sunglasses, an orange silk scarf, and a black cloak marked with 4. Wearing special white gloves and belt, dressed in green combat uniform. It has high-tech combat technology that can control air pressure to fight, and is also called Winch Green. Inside the palace, the king of the Fichk Kingdom was being trampled underfoot by Yuji, who was covered in blood. Ah, eldest brother, this trash king is so rude. I can't catch it with 1 foot. What a piece of garbage. No wonder this country is so weak. You said, how about we loot the Broccoli Kingdom together, by the way? It must be cool like that. Hearing this, Iji, who was wanton sitting on the throne, shook his head. To Li Zhao, although he himself has this idea, however, because of the influence of the bloodline factor, they wouldn't resist Vinsmoke Judge's orders. My father didn't let us do these things. Also, the Kingdom of Broccoli is our employer. If you directly deal with the employer, No one will continue to hire us in the Germa kingdom after the news spreads. Hearing E.G. speaking about Vinsmoke Judge, Yuji could only stomp on the king's head in anger. Then, the whole person rushed out very unhappy and started a massacre in the entire Fij kingdom. When everything in the kingdom of Fij calmed down, there was no one alive in the entire kingdom of Fij, carrying a large amount of treasure. Under the leadership of Vinsmoke Ij, the soldiers of the kingdom of Germa began to gather on the shores of Fij. There, several supergiant snail boats are staying on the coast. And those giant snail ships are the giant sea-walking snail ships unique to the kingdom of Germa. The kingdom of Germa has no real fixed territory, and the so-called territory of the kingdom consists of dozens of these giant snail ships. When these ships merged together, it was the kingdom of Germa. These ships in the kingdom of Germa are all built on the backs of giant snails. These snails can not only move fast in the sea, but also come ashore and even climb cliffs. It can also cross the red soil continent, so that you can freely travel between the 4 seas and the Grand Line without going through the Calm Belt. 54. Destroy Vinsmoke and force it to be incorporated into the noble phantasm of life, while the clone troopers of House Vinsmoke continued to carry the treasures of the kingdom of Fairwick. EC's Dawn had also come to the vicinity at this time. His Royal Highness, there are a lot of black smoke and flames on the island ahead. It is suspected that a war is going on. 35 on the Dawn Observatory. A lookout quickly reported to EC after using a telescope to observe the accident in the kingdom of Fij. Oh, is there a war? Hearing this, EC took off his sunglasses, and with a flash of light in his eyes, observation Haki spread out into the distance. Today, EC's observation Haki has been able to spread out over a distance of 30 kilometers. This distance and range made EC almost think that his observation Haki was on the range side. However, when EC found out that his observation Haki had other development directions, EC understood. Your own observation Haki may not only be biased towards one side, but may have multiple types or even all types. Observation Haki swept across the sea and arrived at the island where the kingdom of Fij is located in an instant. Those 3 bloodline factors of the Vinsmoke family transform people? With a light whimper, EC sat up from Monet's white and tender thigh. In this situation, was the country wiped out by Vinsmoke? Squinting his eyes slightly, within the range shrouded in EC's sight and hearing, EC did not find any living mouth other than Vinsmoke. Although I don't know if there are still live ports outside the coverage of observation Haki, but there is a high probability that there are none. TSK, this is the cruel sea. With a sigh, EC didn't say much. Aldo, let me know and head towards the island ahead at full speed. After giving an order to Aldo, who was not far away, EC leaned back on Monet's delicate body again. EC only paid attention to what happened to the kingdom on that island and then ignored it. Having been in this world for so long, the concept of the previous life, 257, has undergone tremendous changes. Despite seeing so many innocent people dying, EC is now able to calm down. Today, his kingdom has not really risen, and he does not have the capital to do something for other unfamiliar countries. Everything is because this country is too weak, so it will be destroyed by the kingdom of Germa. Weakness is the original sin. Close your eyes and fall back into Monet's gentle village. The dawn speeded up and sailed towards the island ahead, the coast of the kingdom of Fij. At this time, Niji, who was bored waiting for the soldiers to carry the treasure, suddenly saw the dawn sailing towards this direction. Which force does that ship belong to? Why is it so big? Hearing Niji's words, Iji and Yuji also turned their heads to follow Niji's gaze. Such a big ship? You said what would happen if we robbed it? Looking at the approaching dawn, Iji's eyes showed a touch of greed. Hey, this kind of luxurious ship, only we could be worthy of it. Hearing Iji's words, Yuji's eyes suddenly lit up and he laughed strangely. Very well, wait for it to land and grab it. Hearing this, Iji waved his hand and said loudly. Immediately, both Niji and Yuji began to gear up. Looking at the dawn, which was getting closer, the three of them also began to organize soldiers to prepare for interception. At this time on the Dawn, the Apocalypse Squad, Dylan and Ellie had all arrived on the front deck. As Dawn got closer and closer to the island, the undisguised maliciousness also made everyone's observation Haki feel it. TSK. This malicious. Is it those three teenagers? I sensed it from those three teenagers. Well, it's them, although I don't know why Kba has such great malice towards us. However, anyone who dares to offend His Highness must die. 35 Not long after, Dawn slowly stopped not far away, like a giant snail. At this moment, EC finally got off Monet's body. With a big stretch, EC looked at the giant snail boat opposite and said lightly, "Go, kill everyone except those three. 9 is ordered, Your Highness." Hearing this, everyone quickly responded. The figure flashed, and everyone stepped on the moonwalk and flew towards the giant snail ship. Bang bang, there was a sound of bursting air. At this moment, the three of EG who were on the giant snail boat couldn't help being shocked. What ability is this? Why can they run on the sky? Seeing this scene, Niji was shocked and said incredulously, while Yuji frowned. Only EG seemed to have thought of something. "This seems like the Marine 6 styles," my father said. 99 Marine 6 styles? Two questioning voices rang out. However, before EG could speak, Dylan and the others had already arrived in front of the three of them. It's just the malice radiating from the three of you. Looking at the three of EG in front of them, Dylan and the others' faces condensed, and their bodies exuded a strong, murderous aura. Not good. Seeing that Dylan and others wanted to do something to the three of them, EG, Niji, and Yuji decided to strike first and attack quickly. Spark swirl, electric punch, winch heavy strike, zazizi hoo, the sound of sparks. The sound of surging electricity, the three people's battle suits instantly filled with various lights. Fun clothes. Watching the attack of the three of EG in the special clothes, Dylan and the others suddenly lit up. However, this kind of attack is really weak in their eyes. Therefore, in the face of the attack of the three of EG, only Ellie stood up. The body is covered with a black-armed color Haki. Eli's fist clenched slightly, and it was an ordinary straight punch against the three of EG. Boom! Not the slightest surprise. The fist covered with armed Haki directly smashed the attack of the three of EG as if they were destructive. And, even after the smashing attack, he slammed towards the three of EG without stopping. Bang, bang, bang. There were 3 muffled blows in a row. Even the body modified by the bloodline factor could not withstand this powerful attack. The huge force directly broke the blood of the 3 EG's heads and instantly fell into a coma. Tisk, although the clothes are very good, these 3 people are too weak. Piece of lips. Looking at the 3 of EG lying on the ground, Avery withdrew his fist. Okay, take the 3 of them back to His Highness for disposal. 39, shaking his head, Dylan glanced at the 3 who had passed out in a coma. The rest, we will clean up directly. Okay. Hearing this, Avery, She-Mastiff, and Orton each mentioned one person and left here with Moonwalk. As for the members of the Apocalypse team, such as Dylan and Aldo, they started to clean up those clone soldiers. When the 3 of Ellie and the 3 of Ichi arrived on the deck of the Dawn, on the giant snail ship in Germa, Dylan and others had completely cleaned up those soldiers. Your Highness, these 3 should be the 3 princes of Vinsmoke. Most of Dawn knew something about the Vinsmoke family and the Kingdom of Germa. After all, they have been looking for a location in the Kingdom of Germa recently. More or less, everyone on board will know something about the Kingdom of Germa or the Vinsmoke family. EC leaned on the side of the boat and glanced at the 3 EG who had passed out unconscious. Although somewhat disgusted, EC still sent the 3 into the treasure of the king. And the transformation of the noble phantasm of life was carried out on the 3 of EG. Originally, going to sea was aimed at cooperating with the Vinsmoke family. Paying for themselves, the Vinsmoke family made the laser cannons for themselves. However, after the change of Wang Zhibao, EC changed his attitude towards the Vinsmoke family in an instant. The attitude changed from cooperation directly to forced surrender. After all, There are still some uncertainties in cooperation. But turning the people of the Vinsmoke family into noble phantasms of life is different. Absolute loyalty, allowing Vinsmoke to do his best to build a laser cannon for himself. Not long after, when the three of them reappeared, they were completely awake. The moment they saw EC, the three of EG instantly knelt on the ground. "See, Your Highness. May Your Highness rule the sea forever." 99. The eyes are frantic, and the tone is full of surrender to EC. Hearing this, EC's eyes twitched slightly. Unexpectedly, in this world, you can even hear the words of thousands of generations. Glancing at the three of EG with a flat face, EC thought for a moment and asked, "What's going on here?" As he spoke, EC stretched out his finger and pointed to the island where the black smoke was everywhere and the war was still burning. Hearing this, EG took the lead in answering. "His Royal Highness, the Kingdom of Germa has accepted an employment from the Kingdom of Broccoli, so attacked and destroyed the Kingdom of Fichk." 5. Hearing EG's words, EC nodded. Today's Germa Kingdom is indeed a mercenary kingdom. However, the mercenaries in this kingdom are all cloned soldiers, and those employment payments basically turned into research funds for Vinsmoke Judge. "Do you know where the Kingdom of Germa is moored now?" "I know." Hearing this, EG reached out and touched his buttocks. Then, a white life paper appeared in EG's hand. Seeing this scene, EC, Monet, Xiatang, and Avery on the side were all speechless. "What's this hobby in the ass?" Life paper, also known as life card, is a special item in the world of pirates. This kind of thing, which is neither afraid of water nor fire, is made by mixing one's own nails into the material. It is a kind of paper that represents the vitality of the owner. Usually people will tear it up and give it to relatives or friends who are about to separate, and the torn paper will point to the direction of the owner's location. In the original book, the blank paper that Ace gave to Luffy in Alabasta is the life card. This kind of life card is very special and can remotely perceive the state of its owner. It shrinks when its owner is weakened and returns to its original size when its owner recovers. When the life card slowly turns to ashes, it means that the owner is not far from death. If it is completely reduced to ashes, it means that the owner of the life card has died. EC et al. Are no strangers to life paper. Although this thing is only produced in the New World, there are still many reserves in the Helios Kingdom. Therefore, before going to sea, EC and others basically made their own life paper and stayed in the kingdom. 55 arrived at the Germa Kingdom station and entered the Germa Kingdom strongly looking at the life paper in EG's hand. EC has no plans to take it. Since there's a life paper, it will be easier to handle. Let us lead the way ahead in the snail boat. Hearing this, EG stuffed the life paper back into his buttocks. As ordered, Your Highness. With a wave of his hand, EC directly let the three of EG leave. Seeing this, the three of EG left the Dawn and returned directly to the snail ship in the Kingdom of Germa. At this moment, all the clone soldiers in Germa Kingdom have been cleaned up by Dylan and others. Therefore, the three of EG can only personally go on the field and control the snail boat to start sailing. As for those treasures that have not been carried away from the coast, EC gently waved them all into the king's treasure. Afterwards, the Dawn set sail and followed the snail all the way to the place where the Kingdom of Germa stayed. North Blue, in an uninhabited sea. At this time, a piece of land formed by a large number of snail boats is floating on the sea. The land formed by dozens of giant snail boats is so strong that even monstrous waves cannot overturn it. Rumbling above the sky, dark clouds were densely covered, and endless lightning appeared and disappeared in the dark clouds. A loud muffled thunder continued to sound, and every now and then there would be a flash of thunder. VMHMH. After a while, raindrops the size of fists continued to fall. The raindrops hit the deck with a loud bang. "Father, do you want to raise the lightning rod?" Inside a luxurious palace, a slender girl with slender legs sat on a pink princess seat and spoke. The girl has pink medium-length hair that covers her right eye. Her left eyebrow is a counterclockwise circle, and she wears pale pink lipstick. When wearing a combat uniform, she wears black earmuffs with a 6 pattern, a blue scarf, in a miniskirt with her chest and belly button exposed. The girl looked about 13 years old, and she was the current princess of the Germa Kingdom. Vinsmoke Reiju. No need, our current lightning reserve is enough. Hearing Reiju's words, the current king of Germa Kingdom, Vinsmoke Judge, spoke up. Sitting on the throne with the 66 pattern, wearing a metal helmet and long golden hair, the tall Vinsmoke Judge quietly watched the phone bug not far away. That was the phone bug that contacted the three of EG. Unfortunately, after waiting for so long, Judge still didn't get a call from the three of EG. Aside, Reiju said subconsciously after seeing Judge's gaze. Father, EG and the others aren't just having fun again, are they? Hearing this, Judge frowned slightly. No, this time I gave an absolute order. After completing the task and cleaning the battlefield, he returned to the Kingdom of Germa as soon as possible. Saying this, Judge's heart skipped a beat. Did something happen? However, in North Blue, there should be no one who can stop the three of them. 99. As Vinsmoke's highest scientific masterpiece, there is no one else in North Blue who can match them. 5. Although he was a little worried, Judge didn't think much of it out of confidence in his own science and technology. Blue, blue, blue at this moment, the voice of the phone bug rang, attracting the attention of Judge and Reiju. Pat, as Judge answered the phone, Iggy's voice came from the phone bug. Father, the mission is complete. Hearing EG's report, Judge's heart was truly relieved. However, Judge still asked EG curiously, is the kingdom of Fij difficult to deal with? Why do you take so long to report? Hearing this, the other side of the phone bug, EG looked at the sea area where lightning continued to fall not far away, as well as the giant snail continent drifting with the waves within that sea area. Father, we have returned. Also, this time, something happened, and His Highness also came back with us. Hearing this, question marks appeared on Judge and Reiju's heads in the main hall of Germa Palace. What's the meaning? You are back? You mean that you have returned to the sea where the kingdom of Germa is now? 5. Also, something happened? What happened? Also, who is your highness? Who did you bring back? With his head slightly stunned, Judge hurriedly asked. His Royal Highness. I am a loyal person. Hearing this, EG's tone suddenly became frenzied. The reverence in that tone made Judge a little stunned. However, Judge responded quickly. His face darkened, and he said loudly to the phone bug, what did you just say? Allegiance? Do you know what you're talking about? Did Niji and Yuji be by your side and tell them to speak? Please explain to me what a person of allegiance is. On the other side, EG looked at Niji and Yuji on the left and right. Seeing this, Niji and Yuji took 2 steps forward and spoke to the phone bug in unison. Lord Father, you don't need to ask any further questions. His Highness is the one who is loyal to me. 99. In addition, we have already arrived. My father, come out and kneel to greet His Highness. After speaking, Judge disconnected the phone without waiting for Judge to get angry. Inside the Germa Palace, sitting on the throne, Judge's chest kept heaving up and down. Damn, how dare you ask me to kneel and greet you? 39. Father, let's go out and have a look first. At this time, Reiju's heart was also quite shocked. He didn't expect such a big change when his 3 younger brothers went out to sea. Didn't EG and the others say they've arrived? Let's go out and take a look first. Maybe it's because EG and the others were kidnapped. That's why they said such words. When Judge heard Reiju's words, although he was extremely angry, he still forced himself to calm down. The fists were clenched tightly, and although Reiju had a point, Judge knew it well. EG and the 3 of them lost most of their feelings by using the bloodline factor. Even if they were held hostage, they would basically not say such words. Because they have lost their feelings, they're not afraid of these methods at all. However, for now, we can only see what is going on. Standing up, Judge picked up the spear weapon on the side and led Reiju out of the palace. At the same time, on the edge of the Kingdom of Germa, the Dawn has docked in an inner bay port. Afterwards, under the leadership of the 3 of them, EC and Monet walked into this special kingdom territory. As for Xiatang and the others, they all stayed behind the Dawn. EC didn't plan to make more stops in the Kingdom of Germa. Once things are settled, EC will leave North Blue directly. Today, there's nothing else going on in North Blue other than the Vinsmoke thing. 4 flowers, 0 therefore. EC intends to return to the Grand Line as soon as possible to hunt devil fruits. Although the Grand Line is not as big as the 4 Seas, there are definitely more devil fruits on the Grand Line than the 4 Seas. In North Blue, for so long, Dylan and the others just haven't encountered a devil fruit person. Now, the fruit of the operation has been obtained, and there are 2 additional harvests, the snow fruit and the childlike fruit. In addition, most of North Blue's swordsmen and scientists have also been collected. So aside from this last thing, North Blue for now doesn't have what EC wants. Wow la la la, the rain poured. Monet obediently held an umbrella to cover himself and EC in front. The 3 of EG are leading the way, and they're constantly approaching the royal palace at the heart of the kingdom of Germa. Soon, when EC and the others arrived at the giant snail boat where the palace is located, they happened to meet Judge and walked out with Reiju. EG, Niji, Yuji. Seeing the 3 of EG who were not held hostage at all, Judge's face darkened. What are you asking us to do? Why don't you kneel down and greet you when you see His Highness? As if the 3 of EG didn't hear Judge's roar, they shouted at Judge at the same time. Immediately, EC, who was behind him, was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect that these 3 people would actually do something like this. As for Judge, his eyes were red and his nose was steaming. Even if the rain hit his body, it was quickly evaporated by the angry Judge. Looking past EC and the others, Judge's eyes were fixed on EC and Monet. It's you who controlled those 3 unworthy sons, right? His Royal Highness? Although I don't know which country you belong to, you dare to attack Vinsmoke's idea. Today, as the price of offending Vinsmoke, you will die here. Zizizi, a trace of electric current began to permeate above the spear. Judge looked at EC and Monet, who were still unmoved. His face sank, and he rushed towards them. Hey, old man, how dare you offend His Highness? Damn it, 35. Calling you father is to give you face. If you don't give me face now, then I won't give you face either. Today, for the sake of His Highness, I want to kill my relatives righteously. Watch out! Seeing Judge attacking EC, the 3 of EG were furious and attacked Judge one after another. At this moment, a pink figure flashed out, blocking the 3 of EG. Boom! The slender and beautiful legs directly blocked the attacks of the 3 of EG. On the other side, Judge became more and more angry with EC after seeing the reaction of the 3 of them. With the spear in his hand raised, Judge's eyes were fixed on EC's figure. At this time, EC's heart was enlightened. It stands to reason that the absolute loyalty of the treasure of the king will not change the will of the creature itself. For example, normal people such as Monet, although they are absolutely loyal to themselves, are not as wild as the 3 of them. But now the performance of the 3 of EG is completely different from Monet and others. In the final analysis, it should be the issue of pedigree factors. After losing their feelings, they implanted absolute loyalty and made it their only feelings. Therefore, EG3 people will have such a big change in this short period of time. Even if there is a period of time, the 3 of EG may regard themselves as the only belief 10. 56. Incorporate the kingdom of Germa and build a laser cannon thinking of this. EC's eyes instantly turned to Reiju, who was confronting the 3 of them. For some things about the Vinsmoke family, EC is still clear from the original book. When Reiju, EG, Niji, Sanji, and Yuji were still fetuses, Judge implanted the bloodline factor into 5 people. However, unlike EG, Niji, and Yuji, Reiju has also been transformed, but still retains his own feelings. As for Sanji, it was due to special reasons that he did not reveal his transformed superhuman physique when he was a child. Later, after being locked in a dungeon once, he escaped from prison with the help of his sister Reiju, and finally Sanji met Zap, and then had all kinds of things in the original book. But now, EC thought for a while, and then guessed that if Reiju was transformed into a noble phantasm of life, it would not be like the 3 of EG. After all, Reiju still retains his feelings today. Ding at this moment, a soft clashing sound interrupted EC's thoughts. His eyes looked not far in front of him, only to see that Monet had blocked Judge's electric spear attack with a sword of ice. At this time, beside EC, a Monet composed of snowflakes was dragging an umbrella to continue to shield EC from the rain. Hey, the snow fruit has been developed very well. Seeing this scene, EC let out a small snort, but he didn't expect that Monet's development of shue fruit could already achieve this step. Come back, 257, with a soft shout. EC didn't want to waste time here, so he decided to do it himself. Hearing this, Monet glanced at Judge with a solemn expression, and his body suddenly turned into endless snowflakes and quietly appeared beside EC. Natural devil fruit. Seeing this scene, Judge's heart was startled, and his eyes became extremely serious and solemn. Schwa at this moment, EC's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. Puff puff immediately afterwards. Bloody scars appeared all over Judge's body. Plop, the body fell to the ground, and the blood that came out reddened the rainwater accumulated on the ground around him. When EC's figure reappeared, there was no trace of rain on his body, standing under Monet's umbrella, as if nothing had happened. However, Reiju, who was still resisting the three of EG, was shocked when he discovered this scene. While distracted, he was kicked in the stomach by EG and flew to the side of Judge. At this moment, a large number of clone soldiers kept running over. However, the clone soldiers turned and left without hesitation after the three of them gave an order. He looked down at Judge, who had passed out in a coma, and Reiju, who was terrified. EC smiled lightly and said, "Don't be nervous. Soon, you will become my people." With a wave of his hand, a golden ripple appeared, taking Judge and Reiju into the treasure of the king. Then, two noble phantasm embryos descended and quickly merged into Judge and Reiju's bodies. A few minutes later, when Judge and Reiju reappeared, they had completely transformed into noble phantasms of life. Ugh, with a sigh, Judge had already woken up when he transformed the noble phantasm. Now, looking at the flow in my body and mind that affects my will all the time, Judge couldn't help sighing softly. Although he was arrogant, he also understood the situation he and others were in. "See, Your Highness." Looking at EC, Judge knew very well that Vince Smoke was no longer able to resist. Even, it won't be long before Vince Smoke becomes EC's exclusive. Therefore, Judge simply knelt down on the ground and saluted EC regardless of the rain getting his body wet. Seeing this, Reiju on the side also silently followed and half knelt down. Judge and Reiju are not like Dylan and others. They have great loyalty to EC. I don't want to be the three of them. They have lost their feelings and don't think there is anything wrong with their loyalty to EC. Judge and Reiju both have their own feelings, and they are not loyal to EC. Therefore, the two of them are very clear that their minds are affecting their own will all the time. It's a pity, it's clear, but it doesn't have the slightest resistance. After a while, the two would become completely loyal to EC. Knowing this, Judge can only surrender even if he is not reconciled. "Get up if you have something to do, go in and talk." 99 nodding. EC led Monet past Judge and others directly into the palace. Sitting on Judge's highest throne, Judge, Reiju, and EG lined up below. After pondering for a while, EC asked Judge, "Judge, how many scientists are there in the German kingdom today? In the kingdom, what is the main research thing now?" Hearing this, Judge stepped forward and replied, "Your Highness, in addition to me, there are 130 scientists in the German kingdom today. My main research is lineage factors and combat suits, while those scientists are mainly researching combat technology. 35 currently. The main source of income for the Kingdom of Germa is arms sales and employment. 39. So, those scientists have been improving combat technology as an economic commodity for the kingdom. As for the lineage factor and battle suits, I'm working on. Reiju and EG are my finished products." Hearing Judge's words, EC couldn't help but narrow his eyes. "I'm not very interested in the lineage factor. However, can something like a battle suit be mass-produced?" Judge shook his head and spoke with certainty. "Cannot, His Royal Highness. Things like battle suits are specially customized. Everyone's situation is different, and it is impossible to mass-produce them. Having said that, Judge paused for a moment, then continued to speak. However, if it is the simplified version, it can be mass-produced. For example, remove the exclusive features and keep only some weapon configurations and the like. This kind of battlesuit can still be mass-produced, but the effect may not be as powerful as the exclusive battlesuits of Reiju and others. In addition, mass production of this simple version of the battlesuit requires a lot of treasure and mineral resources. So, because it was not cost-effective, I stopped mass-producing this simple version of the battlesuit. When EC heard the words, he shook his head and said regretfully, "The simple version of the battlesuit is useless even after mass production. This is a battlesuit rather than a weapon configuration set." This point, EC is still very clear, so EC has no interest in mass production of this simple version of the battlesuit. After a slight silence, EC skipped the question of the battlesuit. Looking at Judge, EC began to ask himself the question he was most concerned about at the moment. "Judge, do you, or those scientists in the Kingdom of Germa, build laser cannons?" 35, hearing EC's question. Judge froze for a moment, then nodded. "Your Highness, we will all build laser cannons. However, although laser cannons can be built, energy is a very big problem. Although superconducting technology is used, superconducting energy storage can be created, which can store super-intensive electric current and can generate high-intensity laser light." 35. However, this kind of laser requires a lot of energy just to store it. Furthermore, the disadvantage of this type of laser is that it cannot operate all weather and is limited by the influence of various climates, such as heavy fog, heavy snow, and heavy rain. So, although we can build a laser weapon, we don't use it too much. After all, the Kingdom of Germa doesn't have the extra money to deal with energy right now. Adding to the fact that there are too many shortcomings in this type of laser weapon, we gave up building it. 35, hearing this, EC fell silent. To be honest, EC's idea of building a laser cannon originated from his own perception of the power of laser cannons in his previous life. However, EC really didn't know that the laser cannon had such a disadvantage. After all, EC is not a god, and it is impossible to know everything. However, even after hearing Judge's words, EC still asked again unwillingly, "Then do you have any way to improve this type of laser weapon?" Hearing this, Judge pondered for a while, and although hesitant, answered seriously, "His Royal Highness, for this point, there is no way to improve it with our current technology." 55. If it is Vegapunk, it is possible to improve the shortcomings of laser weapons. However, although scientific methods cannot be improved, according to our research, if the devil fruit is used, the laser cannon can be converted into energy. Devil fruit is the secret treasure of the sea, with all kinds of magical powers and special abilities. Our Vinsmoke family has a relatively complete illustration of devil fruits. According to a joint study by our scientists across the Kingdom of Germa, devil fruits can be used as an energy source in theory. 35. Even because the devil fruit is used as an energy source, the so-called heavy fog, heavy snow, heavy rain, and other bad weather can affect the laser weapon. It's just that if you want to use devil fruits as energy, you need to eat devil fruits first. Then it uses its own strength to recharge the laser weapon, and finally relies on the laser weapon to launch an attack. Although the capable person can launch an attack on his own, if he just charges the laser weapon. For those who are capable, an attack with the same power will be slightly more powerful if it relies on laser weapons as a transformation. Because in those with powerful abilities, energy will be wasted more or less when using abilities. The energy converter of a laser weapon can make full use of it. Having said this, Judge paused slightly and gave EC some time to think before continuing. Besides, among the capable persons, as far as a laser weapon is concerned, multiple capable persons can cooperate with each other. 1.0. According to our discussion, the natural system, the fruit of thunder, can provide sufficient energy for laser weapons. As long as the capable person has a strong physique, his own physical strength will be very large, and with it, the energy provided by the thunder fruit to the laser weapon will be more. 95. in addition to this, the Ultraman Blast Fruit and Ultraman Blast Fruit can also provide range explosion damage to laser weapons. The laser attack is more about penetrating damage, not explosive damage, and these two devil fruits can bring explosive damage to laser weapons. The higher level fruit of the target fruit, the locking fruit, can provide laser weapons with automatic aiming. What the eyes see/observation Haki see, the mind locks the enemy. Automatic pursuit and bypassing all obstacles. The function of the enemy. Also, other elemental devil fruits can make laser weapons emit lasers from other elements. And the superhuman type magnetic fruit can even be combined with the sound of thunder fruit to turn laser cannons into electromagnetic cannons. Only, in this way, let's not say where to find the devil fruit. It's not worth it to just need several people to cooperate with each other. 99. Unless one person can possess the power of multiple devil fruits. 5. However, a person can only eat one devil fruit. If you eat too much, you will explode and die. So, the final conclusion, the development of laser weapons is temporarily abandoned. 57. 13-year-old Reiju gets on board at this time. After Judge finished speaking, EC's heart was slightly overjoyed. I didn't expect that it would turn around. Although this is just a theory, this theory is obviously feasible. In the final analysis, there are 3 reasons why Judge has no way to conduct practical tests. First, I can't find the thunder fruit, exploding fruit or exploding fruit, locking fruit, and magnetic fruit that I need. Second, it is impossible for one person to eat multiple devil fruits, and it is obviously not worth the gain for multiple people to serve a laser cannon. Third, there are extremely high demands on the physical strength of those who are capable. It is also because of these 3 points that Judge will give up the practical test of the laser weapon. Because Judge is more interested in the bloodline factor or even the life design diagram in the hands of Vegapunk. Laser weapons, the reason why they were developed, are more used as weapons for sale. However, Judge took into account the various shortcomings of laser weapons and the reasons for the expensive construction, so he chose to give up. However, EC's mind is active, and he has the memory of the original work of the previous life. Most of those devil fruits can be found in EC. The thunder fruit is in Sky Island. The exploding fruit is in the future Baroque works, and the elemental fruit also knows who the owner is. And the magnetic fruit, not to mention, is obviously on the body of the original Supernova Kid. As for the locked fruit, although EC doesn't know it, he can find it through various channels moreover. Although the locked fruit sounds awesome, it can automatically aim, chase, and hit. But in the end, for the vast majority of people, this devil fruit is really useless. Ordinary people are useless even if they get the lock fruit. At most, they can exert the same power as the target fruit ability of the original book. In addition, the second condition is that a person cannot eat more than one devil fruit. This is nothing to EC at all. With the existence of the treasure of the king, as long as EC thinks, EC can even become an alternative devil fruit tree. Even as long as EC collects all the devil fruits and concentrates all his abilities in one, he becomes the only one in the entire pirate world. However, for EC, it is necessary to collect all the devil fruits. After all, after the transformation of the king's treasure, all devil fruits will be controlled by EC. However, EC does not have any collection addiction, and collecting all the devil fruits is also because EC needs this power. And EC is not very interested in being the only capable person in the pirate world. After all, human energy is still limited, and too much ability will not be developed. Although there is a Momo fruit that can amplify its own abilities, the magnification is still the power and not the development progress. Now, EC has eaten the vampire fruit. According to the current idea of building a laser cannon, in the future, he will eat Momo fruit, thunder fruit, explosion fruit, magnetic fruit, and other fruits that are of great use to himself. In this way, the number of abilities in the future will definitely not be less than 10. Therefore, most of the devil fruits collected will be used by EC to build the Kingdom Power Legion. After the first 2 conditions, let's talk about the third condition. Using devil fruits does require a lot of physical effort. However, As far as EC knows, ahem, according to readers, there is still a superhuman fruit in this world. This devil fruit has no bells and whistles. There is only one ability of Zhuang fruit, which can strengthen its own physique and physical strength without limit. Even when it is developed to awakening, it can also draw the energy of heaven and earth into physical strength instantly. At that time, physical strength can be said to be inexhaustible and inexhaustible. This strong fruit is a perfect solution to EC's lack of physical strength. Whether it is the physical strength when fighting or the physical strength when launching the laser cannon, this strong fruit can solve it. Suddenly, EC's mind flashed, and he found another reason why Judge didn't make laser cannons. That is because the laser cannon is very large. After all, if it is just a pistol or a hand cannon, its power will not be that great. Because of the large size of the laser cannon, it is also inconvenient to carry. However, there is infinite space for the king's treasure, EC said, which is not a problem. After thinking for a while, EC spoke to Judge with a serious look. If you can build a laser cannon, how big can you build a laser cannon? How far? 35. Hearing this, Judge didn't know why EC was so obsessed with laser cannons, but he thought for a while and replied, His Royal Highness, if you do your best to build laser cannons, you don't care about material loss. The volume of the laser cannon will be very large, and the overall volume will occupy more than 20 square meters. As for the range, it can be stabilized at a range of 1,000 kilometers. 5. After hearing Judge's words, EC's eyes suddenly lit up. With certainty in his heart, EC raised his hand and waved lightly at the vacant seat beside the palace hall. Whoa, under Judge and the others stunned. A large amount of mineral resources and countless treasures emerged under the waves of golden ripples. In a full 5 minutes, countless minerals and treasures filled the entire palace hall, and most of them even scattered from the door. After taking out all the things, EC pointed to the piles of resources like a hill. Judge, these resources and treasures are all used to build laser cannons. As you said, the range must be guaranteed to be 1,000 kilometers or even more than 1,000 kilometers. 5. As many laser cannons can be built, I can build as many laser cannons. I have unlimited requirements for the number of laser cannons. You don't need to think about things like energy. All you need to do is ensure the quality and the range. Do you understand? Hearing EC's voice, Judge struggled to move away from the pile of resources and treasures. Swallowing, Judge took a deep breath. Don't worry, Your Highness, I will definitely complete the task. Although these were used to make laser cannons, Judge still trembled slightly when he looked at those resources and treasures. Because the impact of this wealth made Judge, the poor king, completely unable to restrain his excited heart and trembling hands. Don't look at Judge as the king of Germa Kingdom, but he is really poor. Otherwise, it would not rely on selling weapons and accepting hired tasks as kingdom funds. It's not easy to do things like selling weapons. After all, it's not just the Germa family that sells weapons. Moreover, Judge himself does not have any talent for business, which has led to the fact that the underground weapons trading market in North Blue is now dominated by the Don Quixote family. As for hiring tasks, this kind of thing doesn't happen every day. Even some hiring tasks will make Judge unacceptable for various reasons. Therefore, on the whole, the kingdom of Germa is indeed poor. Fortunately, the nation is overwhelmingly populated by clones implanted with orders of loyalty. Otherwise, in such a poor country, the people would have been wiped out long ago, or they would have just risen up. Very good. Seeing Judge agree, EC also nodded slightly. Then you can use a small part of these treasures to fund other projects of your research. Others, use them all for me to make laser cannons. Hearing this, Judge's face suddenly brightened. Understood, promised to complete the task. At this moment, Judge's spirit became more positive. Looking at Judge, whose spirit changed slightly, EC smiled without leaving a trace. If you want a horse to run, let the horse eat grass first. Even after becoming his own noble phantasm, Judge will not disobey his orders. However, motivated work is not the same as task-completing productivity. EC is still very clear about this. Moreover, EC is also very interested in the bloodline factor. Maybe Judge can bring some unexpected joy to EC with sufficient funds. In this case, you can arrange it now. As for the laser cannon, I will come back in 5 years. P.S. 5 years later, that is, see Circle Calendar 1514. Waved his hand. EC didn't want to say anything. Now, what should be said has been said, and the entire Vinsmoke has become his own noble phantasm. EC can keep an eye on the progress of the laser cannon at any time. Imagining the scene where the 10,000 cannons were fired, EC couldn't help but get excited. Looking at Reiju, who was about to leave, E-257 touched his chin and said, "By the way, Reiju, you'll be by my side from now on. Go and pack up and go to sea with us later." Hearing this, Reiju was slightly taken aback, but did not expect that he would be named by EC. However, Reiju reacted quickly and bowed to EC. "As ordered, Your Highness." Afterwards, Reiju quickly left here to pack his things. As for Judge et al., there is no objection to this. Under Judge's leadership, the entire German kingdom began to act. Monet, who had been standing beside EC, blinked slightly after hearing EC's words, but didn't say much. After getting along for a while, Monet basically understood some of EC's hobbies. Among them, beauty is one of EC's hobbies. After all, in this daily interaction, whether it is rest or bathing, EC will let Monet and Sugar serve. Moreover, EC also likes to lean on his chest very much. In this regard, Monet basically found out that one of EC's hobbies is that he likes beautiful women very much. For this, EC himself made no secret of his intentions. EC's own dream, in addition to becoming stronger and developing the kingdom, is to open a big crystal palace. Although I'm still young now, I can't do some shy things. However, EC is still very interested in collecting beauties, especially those in the original works. And now, EC is also working hard for his crystal palace dream. Although I can't eat it now, I can still enjoy it after all. After passing through once, can I make myself happy for a while? Soon, EC didn't wait long. Reiju packed his things. Seeing this, after EC and Judge greeted each other, they returned to Dawn with Monet and Reiju. The North Blue Voyage officially ended with the sound of the Dawn ships. In the direction of Upside Down Mountain, Dawn sailed unimpeded on the sea, 58 returning to the Grand Line. The pirates of the Upside Down Mountain melee, this time the North Blue Voyage, can be said to be a complete success. Leaning lazily on the deck chair, EC looked at the sea in front of him and fell into thought. The trip to North Blue has been completed, and the next step is to go to the Grand Line. According to EC's previous plan, in addition to North Blue, East Blue, West Blue, and South Blue must be visited. These 3 seas have everything EC needs. Other than that, the rest is to roam the Grand Line or even enter the New World. Touching his chin, EC recalled his plans for the Grand Line in his mind. 1. Collect and hunt devil fruit ability. 2. Drum Island Kill Wapple to collect Tutton fruit. 3. Sky Island Burka to find the Fruit of Thunder. 4. To find Moria to get the famous sword Autumn Water. 5. To get the 7-star sword of Asko Island. 6. Hunting Crocodile, obtaining the devil fruits from the Baroque works. 7. Collecting scientists to expand the kingdom's scientific research department. 8. Collecting famous knives. Thinking of it this way, EC suddenly realized that there is still a lot to do on the Grand Line. However, among these things, there are a few things that need to wait a few years, such as Moria and Crocodile. Moria did not enter the Devil's Triangle Sea so early. By the same token, it wasn't so early for Crocodile to find Pluton in Alabasta. It would be a pity to go to them now, but maybe the harvest might not be as rich as the original. Therefore, EC does not intend to deal with these 2 people now, but will support them for a few years. The most important thing to do now is to find the Thunder Fruit and Tutton Fruit first. Thinking of this, EC also determined his current goal. Tata Tau. At this moment, behind EC, there was a slight sound of footsteps. Turning his head to look, he saw that Monet was slowly walking towards EC with a glass of ice-cold juice in his hand. Today, Monet's figure is extremely plump, and the two big headlights in front of him shake slightly as he walks. Coming to EC, Monet gently put the juice on the countertop. Sitting on the chair next to him, Monet stretched out his hand and gently massaged EC's thigh. "Your Highness, Reiju has been handed over to Lena. With Lena's teaching, I believe Reiju will adapt soon." While enjoying Monet's massage, EC narrowed his eyes comfortably. After hearing Monet's words, EC smiled lightly. "Well, with Lena's teaching, that's fine. I believe she'll get used to it soon." 35. By the way, after Reiju has been taught by Lena, he will be with us too. 5. You and Xia Tang get along well with her when the time comes. 35. Hearing this, Monet nodded lightly. "I understand with Sugar, Your Highness." 39. Dawn sailed all the way in North Blue. 7 days later, when Dawn arrived in the waters of Upside Down Mountain, it found that there was a melee of pirates ahead. TSK. I didn't expect that we haven't found a devil fruit-capable person in North Blue for so long. It's really interesting that there are two here. Looking at the pirate group fighting in front of him, EC couldn't help but froze for a moment. To be honest, during the trip to North Blue during this period, EC thought that he was out of luck. In addition to the surgical fruit that he was waiting for, the snow and snow fruit, and the childlike fruit that were delivered to the door, the other devil fruits, and even the devil fruit-powered EC, have no news at all. So, now EC is thinking about whether to find out the Baccarat who ate the lucky fruit in the original book first. After all, North Blue is so big, it makes no sense that he can't even find a devil fruit person. It's a pity that the original Baccarat, EC, who ate the lucky fruit, only knew that she was from South Blue, but she didn't know the specifics at all. Looking for such a person is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Even, it is very likely that because of the lucky fruit, Baccarat can evade his pursuit unconsciously. Therefore, after thinking for a long time, EC can only choose to follow the fate. And now, EC looked at the pirate group that was fighting not far away and turned to look at Dylan and the others. In response, everyone read EC's orders from EC's eyes. Without waiting for EC's order, Dylan and the others in Aldo's Apocalypse team left the Dawn on the moonwalk in an instant. A dozen people stepped on the moonwalk across the sea, and this scene was immediately discovered by the pirates in the melee. Enemy attack. Enemies. Beware of the enemies in the sky. Stop fighting. A new enemy is coming. Damn, how can they fly? Quick, inform the captain. A new enemy is coming. Quack, quack. No need to notify. I have seen it. Huh? You dare to sneak attack on my giant duck pirates. The little ones will shoot me. Jia, jia, jia. Pull out Lao Tzu's white goose cannon. Bang him. 99 little ones. Take out your guns and shoot me hard. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, the pirate group that was still in the melee suddenly united together. Suddenly, the sound of cannons and muskets rang out one after another. Tempest kick. Chopping wave. Tempest kick. Vacuum chopper. Eschichish Dylan and the others joined the pirate group, who were amazed at the melee at this moment. However, when the cannonballs came, everyone still used the Tempest kick technique. One after another vacuum chopper waves flew out continuously, and a large number of artillery shells were blown up in the air. Even some slashing waves directly penetrated the gaps of the shells and landed on those pirates. In an instant, the crowded pirates were concentrated by the slashing waves. Those with good physical fitness flew out on the spot, and those with poor physical fitness died directly. Swish, swish, not long after, Dylan and others landed on the pirates. I and Eli will go to capture the two devil fruit-capable people, and the others will exterminate these pirates. 35. As Dylan's words fell, everyone dispersed instantly. In an instant, the pirates screamed and died in the hands of Aldo and others. These North Blue pirates have absolutely no resistance in the hands of Aldo and others. With the cooperation of Marine 6 Styles, one after another pirate blood was spilled on the spot. At this time, Dylan and Ellie each came to the front of the two devil fruit-capable users. Cold and ice spread 9. Ka in a flash. Dylan appeared behind the captain of the giant duck pirates before he could react. A hand rested lightly on the shoulder of the captain of the giant duck pirates. In an instant, Ling Lai's cold air suddenly erupted. The captain couldn't react at all and was directly frozen into an ice sculpture. On the other hand, Avery is much more violent than Dylan. With a slight flick of his body, Eli's fist slammed into the head of the captain of the White Goose Pirates. With a loud bang, the captain of the White Goose Pirates was directly hit by Ellie and suffered concussion. However, Eli didn't let him go. He is also an animal demon fruit person, and Eli knows his resilience very well. Therefore, after Ari succeeded, he raised his fist and punched the captain of the White Goose Pirates again. Knowing that the captain was seriously injured and unconscious, Eli stopped his fist. Looking at the pirate group that was slaughtered by Aldo and others, Dylan and Eli looked at each other. Then each of them mentioned their goals and stepped on the moonwalk towards the dawn and returned to the past. Casually still on the deck, Dylan and Eli saluted EC. His Royal Highness, these two are devil fruit power users. It looks like it should be the giant duck fruit and the white goose fruit of the fauna. 5. EC looked at the two people on the deck and swiped his palm into a knife. Immediately, two small slashes flew out, slashing the throats of the two pirate captains in a blink of an eye. With a wave of his hand, waves of golden ripples appeared and swallowed the two corpses. Not long after, the two corpses were spit out into the sea by the golden ripples again. At this time, EC also had two more golden devil fruits in his hand. Noble Phantasm, Zoology Common Species Giant Duck Fruit, type. Active Noble Phantasm, type. Consuming Noble Phantasm, Liberation. After eating, strengthen one's own strength, physique, and resilience, and transform into giant duck form and human beast form, without side effects. Noble Phantasm. Animals, Common Species, White Goose Fruit, type. Active Noble Phantasm, type. Consuming Noble Phantasm, Liberation. After eating, strengthen one's own strength, physique, and resilience, and transform into white goose form and human beast form, without side effects. Looking at Li Zhao, glancing at the two devil fruits, EC threw them to Aldo, who had returned to the deck. These two devil fruits, to be honest, are inferior devil fruits even among the common animal species. Even these two devil fruits can be directly regarded as poultry fruits. However, in the final analysis, this is still a devil fruit. After eating them, it still strengthens itself somewhat. Although, these two devil fruits, discuss with your Apocalypse team how to distribute them. 9. Although these two devil fruits are not very powerful, they are still devil fruits belonging to the animal system. After eating, the physical quality of the able person will still improve. If there are side effects, it is not recommended to eat, but now the side effects are gone. 35. Eating it will improve your own strength. Hearing this, Aldo nodded lightly and made a polite sentence to EC. As ordered, Your Highness, take the Apocalypse team to the side. After some deliberation, Aiden and Pius, members of the Apocalypse team, ate the giant duck fruit and the white goose fruit respectively. EC didn't pay too much attention to the distribution of devil fruits by the Apocalypse team. Looking at several pirate ships that were gradually sinking not far away. Under EC's order, the Dawn set sail again towards the entrance of Upside Down Mountain. 59 meet Crocus and set off for the Drum Kingdom Upside Down Mountain. Also known as Levi's Mountain, is an incredible and dangerous mountain and the entrance to the Grand Line from all over the world. There are a total of 5 water channels on the Upside Down Mountain, which are X-shaped, and the water flows in and out. 4 of the water channels flow from bottom to the top of the mountain, which is commonly known as the reverse flow of the sea. The reason why the 4 waterways of Upside Down Mountain can become reverse waterways. It is because the ocean currents in the 4 seas in the south, east, and northwest are so strong that they can make the water flow upwards against gravity. These 4 rivers connect 4 different sea areas: East Blue, West Blue, South Blue, and North Blue. After riding the reverse water channel to the top, you can see that there is a normal water channel at the intersection of the top. This waterway is the last waterway and the only waterway that flows into the Grand Line. Although Dawn is large, the waterway of Upside Down Mountain is still very wide, so Dawn can also enter it. Under the command of the navigators and the control of the sailors, the Dawn slowly entered the entrance of the North Blue Waterway. At the moment when he just entered the entrance of the waterway, suddenly, the surrounding ocean current became extremely violent. Under the action of the ocean current, the speed of Dawn reached extremely fast speed in an instant. On the deck, EC leaned on the edge of the boat and felt the feeling of violent wind and water vapor beating on him. Originally, EC thought that sailing on an upside-down mountain and waterway would be the same as normal sailing and could enjoy the surrounding scenery. However, in the current situation, if it is an ordinary person, let alone admiration, you can only pray that you will not be thrown out. And EC, although powerful, is surrounded by dense water vapor. Coupled with the eye-opening gale, EC was unable to enjoy the fantastic scenery of upside-down landscapes. OM 257 when the Dawn reaches its apex from the waterway. The moment the water vapor disappeared instantly, the whole air made a humming sound. Looking left and right, EC's eyes were filled with the turbulent waters. What's more, there is a lot of shipwreck. These are all pirate ships that entered the Grand Line from the four seas. From the moment the pirates choose to go to the Grand Line, they must first pass the level of Upside Down Mountain. Every year, the level of Upside Down Mountain makes countless pirates buried here. The turbulent currents, the hard continent, and the level of Upside Down Mountain are difficult to pass without a good navigator. With the cooperation of the helmsman, sailors, and navigators, the Dawn safely entered the entrance channel of the Grand Line. Under the feeling of weightlessness, the Dawn landed steadily on the sea surface of the Grand Line. Fortunately, Dawn did not encounter the island whale. "Your Highness, do you want to stop at the lighthouse over there?" At this moment, Monet took a few steps to EC's side and pointed to the lighthouse not far away. Hearing this, EC turned his head to look, and immediately, a towering lighthouse appeared in EC's eyes. EC just glanced at it casually, and then turned his attention to the old newspaper reader sitting on the sun lounger under the lighthouse. I didn't expect to be able to see him, so I just asked if there was a permanent pointer on the drum island. Instructed to go down and drive the Dawn past. After saying a word to Monet next to him, EC waited quietly. Crocus, the former ship doctor of the Roger Pirates, is now the keeper of the Twin Points Lighthouse. Of course, in addition to this, he also has an identity, the guardian of the island whale Laboon. The Dawn docked, and Crocus slowly put down the newspaper in his hand. Such a luxurious ship. The young people these days are really amazing. A hand pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose, and Crocus's eyes couldn't help but flash. Standing up, Crocus took a few steps to not far from Dawn. Standing on top of a boulder, Crocus looked up at Dawn and said loudly, "Hey, young man, do you need any supplies when you stop here?" On the boat, Monet, Dylan, and others all turned to look at EC. EC also took 2 steps forward and jumped off the Dawn, landing on the boulder at Crocus's feet. "I want 2 things." Looking at Crocus with a calm face, EC said lightly. Hearing this, Crocus pushed his glasses again. "TSK, today's young people are really impolite." Although he muttered in a low voice, Crocus's whole body tightened involuntarily, because his observation Haki subconsciously felt a dangerous breath. Pausing his body slightly, Crocus looked at EC and asked curiously, "Young man, don't know what you want?" 35 EC heard the words, narrowed his eyes slightly, and said, "The first, the permanent pointer of the drum island. This you must have." 35 hearing EC's affirmative words, Crocus was taken aback for a moment. "How can you be sure that I will have it? You know, Drum Island is quite far from me." 35, "At least, it takes 2 islands to reach Drum Island." Hearing this, EC shook his head. "Although you say so, as the ship doctor of the Roger Pirates, you will definitely go to Drum Island often. After all, the Drum Kingdom is a big medical country. As a doctor, you will definitely go there often when you are researching and making medicines." 5 at this moment, Crocus's expression froze when he heard EC's words. Crocus was quick to relax again, though. Looking at EC's calm face, Crocus could not help but sigh softly. What a wonderful young man. I have been living in seclusion here. You can know my identity. 5. However, I'm no longer the ship doctor of the Roger Pirates. Now I'm just an ordinary old man, Kba. Guarding this lighthouse. I just want to spend my old age here and now. 35. As for the Drum Island permanent pointer you want, I still have some. Wait a minute. I can give you one. However, the old man is a little curious. What is the second thing you want? EC looked at Kokoro's, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. The second thing, I want to know the whereabouts of Roger's saber. Hearing this, Crocus immediately looked at EC in amazement. Roger's saber? What do you want that thing for? Subconsciously asking a question, Crocus paused slightly, then continued to speak. Though I don't know what you want Roger's saber for. 35. However, I don't know anything about Roger's saber. It can even be said that not just me, even the entire Roger Pirates, no one knows. 39. Because when Roger disbanded the pirate group and disembarked, he left with his saber. 99. There's been no contact since then. So if you want Roger's saber, don't know. Shaking his head, Crocus looked serious. Not sure why you want Roger's saber, though. However, the world government will definitely not let Roger's saber live again. And after Roger was executed by Marine, the body was taken by Marine. So, the location of the saber should also be at Naval headquarters. After hearing Crocus's words, EC's brows could not help but frown slightly. The reason why EC wanted Roger's saber was to obtain Roger's swordsmanship. You must know that Roger is also a master of swords. With that trick, he can even make his own attack avoid the opponent's weapon and directly hit the opponent's body. This kind of skill, EC is still very envious, because with his current swordsmanship, he can't do it. Besides, the saber in Roger's hand is the 12th Supreme Sword. The name of the sword is Ace. However, when EC recalled the original book in his mind, he found that there was no description in the original book that Roger brought his own saber when he turned himself in. In other words, Roger probably hid his saber somewhere. To say the most likely place to hide a knife, it is either Roger's hometown, Lobe Town in East Blue, or it's Batterilla Island in South Blue, where Roger was the last place he lived before he turned himself in. It is also where Roger's wife, Port Gasti, Rouge, and Roger's son, Port Gasti, Ace, were born. The thought movement in the mind is only a momentary thing. Soon, EC remembered the location of Battery-La Island in his heart. In EC's plan, before he inherits the throne at the age of 18, he must travel all over the world in the Grand Line. Now, North Blue is gone, and the rest are East Blue, West Blue, and South Blue. Since Roger's saber has not been found for such a long time, it is difficult for him to find it even in the past. That being the case, it's better to continue with your own planning and sailing, and then go to Batterilla Island to find it after South Blue. Making up his mind, EC returned to Dawn after trading a permanent drum island pointer with Crocus. As the dawn started, under the lighthouse, Crocus adjusted his glasses and said to himself as he looked at the dawn that was gradually receding, "Isn't a pirate? But I don't know how he knew my identity. Looking at this, it doesn't look like Marine. However, did not expect him to be interested in Roger's saber. Is it purely interested in Roger's saber being the ultimate knife? Still interested in the meaning of Roger's saber. However, I really don't know where Roger's saber is. 9. Looks like I have time to contact those old guys to inquire. 55 on the dawn. EC stood on the bow and looked at the endless sea, constantly refining his sailing plan in his mind. Next, go to the Drum Kingdom to get the Tunton fruit, and then go to the Sky Island to get the Thunder fruit. These two things are by far the most important, and EC intends to eat them for Crown Island. As for the Thunder fruit, of course, EC eats it himself, which can not only develop the fruit's ability, but also serve as a laser cannon energy reserve. G60 get Tunton fruit, and harvest fungus fruit by the way on the dawn. With the existence of the permanent pointer of the Drum Island, EC does not need to worry about the sailing of the dawn. At night, EC lies on the soft bed and enjoys Reiju's massage. Today is Reiju's first day on the job. In just a few days, Reiju passed Lena's teaching. I have to say, Reiju has such a high talent for maid. This was indeed an accidental discovery. For 5 days, Dawn did not stop at any of the islands. Because now we're going to kill the king of a world government member country. Therefore, EC did not intend to expose the situation of the Dawn in this sea area during this period. According to information from the Kingdom Intelligence Department, the current king of the Drum Kingdom is Wapol in the original book. Of course, Wapol has only just taken over the king's position. However, the Kingdom Intelligence Department still confirmed that Wapol is the one with the ability to swallow the fruit. Therefore, EC remained concealed throughout this voyage. For 5 days, Dawn had not approached any of the islands. The sea areas where it travels are basically unmanned sea areas observed by watchers. The Drum Kingdom is a member country of the world government, so Wapol will definitely attract the attention of the world government after Wapol's death. Therefore, EC still wants to develop a wave of wretchedness for the time being, so he is careful to let the Dawn not dock on any islands. Wu with the Dawn docked in a hidden 5-person sea. At this moment, EC, who was standing on the bow, held the permanent pointer of the magnetic drum island and instantly unfolded a pair of bat wings on his back. With the flapping of the bat wings, EC slowly flew up into the sky. When EC's figure was hidden above the clouds in the sky, the bat wing behind him shook violently. Swoosh, the sound of breaking the sky sounded, and a black figure instantly disappeared between the clouds. On the Dawn, everyone stood on the deck and looked, and they could only see a small black spot that was getting farther and farther away, until it disappeared completely. It is reasonable to say that this kind of thing does not require EC to go out in person. However, on the Dawn, only EC was able to fly freely. Moreover, this trip cannot reveal the existence of the Dawn, so it can only travel alone. In the end, EC decided to go by himself. Magnetic Drum Island is the third island where the original Straw Hats landed on the Grand Line. It is named after the peaks on the island are shaped like magnetic drums. In addition, Magnetic Drum Island is a real winter island. The island is covered with ice and snow all the year round, and the sky is not snowing all year round. There is a Drum Kingdom on the Drum Island, and the Drum Kingdom is also a famous medical power in the entire Grand Line. It is a pity that after Wapol came to power, tyranny has always been implemented, and almost all the excellent doctors in the Drum Kingdom have been exiled. But all of this has little to do with EC. This time, EC's purpose is very simple, just to swallow the fruit in Wapol's body. Maybe, after EC kills Wapol, the Drum Kingdom will be even better. The bat wings fluttered, and EC moved extremely fast in the direction of the permanent pointer. After a while, EC's figure appeared behind a cloud in the sky of the Drum Kingdom. Seeing and hearing colors spread out, gradually covering the entire Drum Kingdom from top to bottom. Suddenly, EC's expression froze slightly, and a curious look appeared on his face. Just now, EC felt that his vision was blocked by another vision. It's just that the look of seeing and hearing seems to be letting go of his defense after realizing that he has no malicious intentions. Looking down, EC saw at a glance that the place that blocked his vision was on top of a towering iceberg on Drum Island. Is that the Dr. Galiva, who lived to be more than 130 years old? P.S. Dr. the abbreviation of the doctor. EC still had some impressions of this person, but what EC didn't expect was that she still has such a powerful observation haki. However, it is understandable to think about a little bit. After all, most of the doctors in the Drum Kingdom were expelled by Wapol, but she can live a good life. It can be seen that without a little strength, it is impossible to do it. At this time, it was on top of the iceberg that EC had just stared at. A castle is located here. At this time, Dr. Guriva was sitting in the castle drinking plum wine, but his eyes couldn't help but look up to the sky. TSK, there's a strong man here. Shaking her wine bottle, Dr. Guriva quickly forgot about it and concentrated on drinking her own plum wine. This little episode, neither EC nor Dr. Galiva paid much attention to it. After EC understood, he continued to let go of his observation haki and search for Wapol's trace. Got you. Soon, a light flashed in EC's eyes. In EC's observation haki perception, Wapol's special figure was soon discovered. At this moment, in the center of the palace, Wapol is falling into a deep sleep. Outside the palace, 20 doctors stood cautiously on either side, waiting for Wapol to wake up. At this time, a bat quietly flew into the bedroom from a window. The bat hangs upside down from a chandelier, staring at Wapol's figure. With a flick of the bat wing, the bat quietly came to Wapol's bed. Hum quietly. The bat turned into EC and stood in front of Wapol's bed. The 5 fingers folded together into a knife, and with a light wave, the invisible slash instantly cut off Wapol's head. Golden ripples appeared. Wapol's body disappeared. And after a while, as Wapol's body reappeared, EC's figure completely disappeared on the drum island. Flying high above, EC flew all the way in the direction of dawn. Suddenly, as if remembering something, EC's figure suddenly stopped above the sky. I remember, there is also a capable person in the land of fire not far from Drum Island. 35 staying in the air, EC recalled it slightly and quickly found it from his own memory. Almost missed a devil fruit. In my memory, Wapol's older brother, Mshuru, the superhuman-type fungus fruit ability, was banished to the land of fire by the former king of the Drum Kingdom. The land of fire is not far from the Drum Island where the Drum Kingdom is located. Thinking of this, EC's figure turned and flew straight towards the direction of the land of fire. Although there is no permanent pointer of the Fire Nation, when he was in the sky, EC observed a large number of gray clouds on the sea area not far from Drum Island. No need to guess, it must be where the Fire Nation is located. 4 Flower 0, although it is called the Kingdom of Fire, in fact, the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Drums belong to the type of Winter Island. It's just that there is an active volcano in the center of the Fire Country. Here, the air quality is so poor that thick volcanic ash forms a thick gray cloud above the sky, making the snow here gray. After arriving at the island, EC landed from a coast. Although he knew that there was Mshuru, EC had never met him. Also, Mshuru didn't want to be as easy to find as Wapol. Therefore, as a last resort, EC could only wear a black robe that covered his entire body to disguise a little. Sitting on the road to the island of the land of fire, EC's brows never loosened. The smell here is so pungent. A lot of volcanic ash melted into the snow and fell. Not only that, the strong sulfur smell makes people feel unusually pungent. Yo, look, I met a newcomer today. Just after landing on this island, before EC could go far, a group of people appeared from all over the place and surrounded EC. Looking at the people who surrounded him, EC was also slightly stunned. Didn't think that one day he would be robbed? Boss, looking at him wrapping himself up tightly, he is not a good person at first sight. 99 at this time, a person in a thick cotton coat spoke to a man with pink dark hair and windproof glasses, and that man touched his chin after hearing his younger brother's words. Then, he spoke to EC with an extremely proud face. Hey, hide-and-seek guy, you're now surrounded by the Mshuru pirates. If you don't want to die here, then obediently teach the valuable things on your body. Looking at your dress, is it embarrassing? At this moment, EC's eyes narrowed slightly when he listened to this man's words. I want to ask a question. Who are you? Ha! You don't even know the great Lord Mshuru, yet you dare to land on this island. That's right, that really made me laugh to death. This person doesn't even know Captain Mshuru. This kind of ignorant person, it seems that our gain is very small. Hearing this, the younger brothers all around suddenly burst into laughter. At this time, Mshuru also looked at EC with a sneer on his face. You don't even know this prince. How dare you land on this island? As Mushalu revealed his identity, EC's mouth slowly drew a smile. It's really hard to find a place to break through the iron shoes, and it takes no effort to get it. Clang! A scabbard sound sounded, followed by a flash of arc. Everyone who laughed loudly at EC suddenly fell onto the snow in horror while clutching their necks. Walking to Mushalu's body, EC put his body into the treasure of the king with a wave of his hand. A few minutes later, Mshuru's body was casually thrown on the snow by EC. A pair of bat wings spread out behind him, and then EC's figure rose into the sky. As EC left, the gray snowflakes got bigger and bigger, gradually covering the bodies of Mshuru and others. 61. Tianyun Island accepts a reward order, hunting ability Tianyun Island. At this time, the huge Dawn ship was staying on the island to replenish supplies. 3 days have passed since EC secretly killed Wapple and Shiru. EC quickly returned to the Dawn after killing 2 of them that day to get 2 devil fruits. Afterwards, Dawn started sailing again, and it took 3 days in a row to arrive at this Tianyun Island. It happened that the Dawn needed to replenish supplies, so EC ordered the Dawn to dock at the port of Tianyun Island. Immediately afterwards, under the leadership of Dylan and others, most of the people on the ship disembarked to buy and carry supplies in batches. EC didn't plan to disembark because just now King Ilo made a phone call. EC, back to the Grand Line? Would you like to fix the kingdom? After taking a leisurely sip of the juice, EC smiled slightly. Father, what happened to the kingdom? On the other side of the phone bug, King Iloa was slightly taken aback, but he quickly reacted. Everything is fine in the kingdom. It's just that your mother misses you. After EC heard this, he sighed softly. It seems that the mother is worried. 99. After a slight pause, EC didn't plan to go back now. After all, if you want to be reunited, every day will be a day of reunion. The most important thing right now is to get things done first. I don't plan to go back now. I still have a lot to do on my return to the Grand Line this time around. From now on, I'll call my mother-in-law every night. 35. Hearing this, King Ilo nodded lightly, glanced at Queen Eliza next to him, and King Ilo shook his head. If that's the case, then go on with your business. However, in the future, remember to report your mother's safety every day. After all, she was worried about you every day when you were out at sea. Hearing this, EC's expression became extremely soft. I know, my father and mother are both so healthy. In the future, there will be a lot of time for reunion. As the Prince of the Helios Kingdom, state affairs are the most important. King Ilua smiled with relief. Exactly. You can arrange your own affairs. When going overseas, pay more attention to your own safety. Also, everything is going well in the kingdom now, so you don't need to worry about it. 5. Hearing King Ilo's words, EC nodded lightly. Don't worry, Father, I will definitely pay attention to safety. After speaking, EC spoke again as if he had remembered something. By the way, Father, I want to tell you something first. 99. From time to time, a group of scientists will be escorted back to the kingdom. 9. After the scientists who escorted them back to the kingdom arrive, you will directly secure them into the scientific research department. As for the escorts, they are basically members of the Tianki team. After that, those from the Apocalypse Squad stayed in the kingdom. 35. Apocalypse Squad. In the future, Father King, you should take it as your own escort team. Hearing this, King Iloa was slightly startled, and after a little thought, he agreed. After hanging up the phone, EC put the phone bug in Monet's hand. Taking a sip of the juice that Reiju brought to the side, EC pondered and said, Monet, after they come back, you can make arrangements. Among the Apocalypse Squad, Aiden and Pius are already devil fruit users. With the strength of the 2 of them, it is basically safe not to meet a powerful enemy. Let them take some sailors and take the scientists from our ship back to the kingdom on a sub-ship. With a steady stream of scientists joining the research department, what I need should be developed faster. Hearing EC's order, Monet put away the phone bug and took out his notebook to write down. Yes, Your Highness. An hour later, the replenishment team began to return to Dawn one after another. And Monet also quickly found Aiden and Pius and began to explain EC's orders. At this time, Dylan came to EC with a stack of bounties and excitedly. His Royal Highness, a devil fruit person, is born. Hearing this, EC's eyes were placed on the stack of reward orders in Dylan's hand. Seeing this, Dylan quickly handed the reward in his hand to EC. EC took it, sat up straight, and looked at each of them. At the same time, Dylan also began to talk on the side. Your Highness, I just went to the Marine branch on this island. I just wanted to exchange the bounty. 35. When I first went to the island, I met a few pirate groups that didn't open their eyes. So I killed it, though, after knowing there was a Marine branch on this island. 99. On the principle of not to waste, I cut off the heads of those with bounties and went to the Marine branch to collect the bounty. 99 Then I saw that there are several devil fruit pirates on the latest bounty. And, by coincidence, these pirates are all in the waters around here. Having said that, Dylan's expression became more and more joyful. His Royal Highness, I have seen it. There are a total of 6 devil fruit-capable people in the sea area around here. 39. Among them, there are 3 mad wolf pirates, namely black wolf fruit ability, white wolf fruit ability, and red wolf fruit ability. Then, there are the captain and vice-captain of the Brolano pirates. The 2 are the golden jade fruit ability and the bone fruit ability. Finally, it's the black tiger pirates entrenched in Tiger King Island. According to the Marine branch, the captain of this pirate group, Black Tiger Afu, is very powerful. While listening to Dylan's narration, EC flipped through the bounty in his hand. Suddenly, EC couldn't help but pause when he saw a bounty. The shape of the muscular man, with flaming crimson hair, red eyebrows, and beard, and that uncle face. This looks so familiar. Looking at this reward order, EC touched his chin. This can't be the Black Tiger Afu from the Adventures of Xiaoyu. Shaking his head, EC thinks it shouldn't be, because EC has never heard of any holy masters, spells, black magic, or anything like that. Thinking of this, EC couldn't help but have a little interest in this pirate version of the Black Tiger Afu. Looking at the deeds described on the reward order, I saw that the Black Tiger Afu was originally a disciple of a martial arts hall. Well, it can be regarded as a martial artist, but the island where the martial arts hall is located was cold during a pirate invasion, and the Black Tiger Afu was a survivor at that time. After that, the Black Tiger Afu was lucky to eat a black tiger fruit of the animal type. Then, relying on this power, he killed the pirates who invaded the island and avenged the martial arts hall. Seeing this, it can still be seen that the Black Tiger Afu is still very good. However, after that, the Black Tiger Afu seemed to have liberated his nature. Relying on his rapidly improving strength, the Black Tiger Afu began to frantically snatch treasures. Dry marine, dry pirates, dry merchant ships, dry towns. Until now, the Black Tiger Afu has even done the slaughter of the village. And all of this is for the purpose of collecting treasures. As a result, the Black Tiger Afu was regarded as a pirate by Marine and offered a bounty. At the end, EC's interest in the Black Tiger Afu disappeared quietly. Originally, EC was thinking about whether or not to take the Black Tiger Afu for his own use. However, after seeing that he had even done things in 2 Village, EC had no interest in him at all. However, EC is very interested in the reason why the Black Tiger Afu has collected so many treasures. Maybe, after finding this reason, I will give myself some extra gains. Do you know where the 3 pirates are now? Putting down the bounty in his hand, EC asked Dylan. No. Dylan nodded affirmatively. After discovering these 6 devil fruit abilities, I applied for intelligence support from the intelligence department. It just so happens that the intelligence department has a lot of intelligence personnel scattered in our waters. According to the information they provided, the Crazy Wolf Pirates are now on Kuru Island, east of Tianyan Island. The Brolano Pirates had previously passed by the Dawn, which was not registered at the Cobalt Mule Island. As for the Black Tiger Pirates, the Tiger King Island where they are located is located in the waters of Gaia Island. 5 Hearing Dylan's words, EC's brows couldn't help but twitch. Huh, are there many intelligence personnel in the kingdom in this sea area? What? Is there any special situation in this sea area? When I called King Ilo before, King Ilo didn't mention it. EC was also a little curious about this. It stands to reason that the intelligence department would not concentrate intelligence personnel too much in one area. Hearing this, Dylan replied quickly, His Royal Highness, it's because the intelligence department learned that an unowned devil fruit has appeared in this area. 99 Moreover, there were a lot of people competing for this devil fruit at that time, so the intelligence department arranged for the intelligence personnel in the vicinity to come here. As for the final result, the Ministry of Intelligence did not disappoint the kingdom. The devil fruit has been brought back to the kingdom. Hearing this, EC couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. Then, a strong smile appeared on his face. It seems that not only is he working hard, The kingdom is also secretly working hard in a place that he does not know. No wonder the father didn't tell him about it. It seemed that he wanted to surprise 1.0 himself. Thinking of this, the smile on EC's face became even brighter. Although Dylan didn't know why EC smiled so happily, he still waited quietly for EC's orders. Soon, after EC calmed down, he focused his attention on the things in front of him again. After thinking for a while, EC spoke to Dylan, who was beside him. It's a little troublesome to deal with the 3 pirates one by one. That Mad Wolf pirates. Wait a minute and let Eli, Shima, and Orton take some people there. And the Berlano pirates, let the Apocalypse team go. Although Aiden and Pius in the Apocalypse team have already escorted those scientists back to the kingdom. However, even if there are 2 less people, the overall strength of the Apocalypse squad can still deal with these 2 devil fruit-capable people. 5, well, in order to prevent the ship from capsize in the gutter, when the time comes, you should also act with the Apocalypse team. As for the last Black Tiger pirates, leave it to Monet and the 3 of them. It happens that our next stop is Gaia Island. After you finish processing, go directly to Gaia Island to join the Dawn. After listening to EC's instructions, Dylan quickly took it to heart. As ordered, Your Highness. Afterwards, Dylan left EC's side and started to carry out EC's orders. 62 divided troops and arrived at Tiger King Island. Watching Dylan leave, Reiju, who had been quiet, frowned slightly and asked softly, His Royal Highness, can I and Sister Monet and Sister Sugar really deal with the Black Tiger pirates? EC lay lazily on the beach chair. His eyes narrowed slightly. After hearing Reiju's question, he said with a slight smile, Do not worry. This time is mainly for you to practice your hands. Monet's snow and snow fruit can be elementalized, and he is not afraid of the attack of the Black Tiger Afu. After all, the bounty didn't say that he mastered the armed color Haki. Of course, it's not ruled out that he has hidden this, so he must be extra careful when fighting. Secondly, the 3 of you go together. It doesn't mean that only the 3 of you are going to fight. Sugar is the fruit of childishness, and those Beast Toy Legions are also part of Sugar's own strength. So, to be precise, it's you guys that go to besiege this Black Tiger Afu. Moreover, the childlike fruit of Sugar is very powerful. Maybe this battle will end soon. After all, as long as it is touched by Sugar, it will basically turn into a toy. Having said this, EC turned his head and glanced at Reiju, pondered for a while, and continued. As for your words, this time it's more about increasing your own experience. Although your battle suit is very good, your basic strength is still too poor, so you need to exercise. 5. You have a bloodline factor. As long as you exercise diligently, I believe that your own strength will soon be able to improve. As for your devil fruit, I have already thought about it. The poisonous fruit of Magellan, the current director of Impelled Down, is very suitable for you. Your bloodline factor gives you the ability to control poison. If you add poisonous fruit, I believe your actual strength will have a leap. 5. However, there is currently no way to obtain the poisonous fruit. So before you get the poisonous fruit, you still have to improve your own basic strength. After a slight pause, EC concluded. In general, this time, it's an opportunity for the 3 of you to gain combat experience. 99, hearing EC's arrangement for himself, Reiju was a little surprised in his heart. Unexpectedly, his follow-up devil fruit turned out to be a poisonous fruit. Reiju has long known about this devil fruit that suits him best. After all, the Vinsmoke family has a devil fruit illustrated book. However, after realizing that the poisonous fruit already had a master, Reiju gave up early. Unexpectedly, the fate was so wonderful that the Vinsmoke family directly surrendered to EC's feet. And during this period of time, Reiju also knew all kinds of incredible things on the Dawn. He didn't even expect that the devil fruit he prepared for himself was actually a poisonous fruit. Reiju, who is only 13 years old, is not as mature as the future. In addition, he became EC's noble phantasm. At this moment, Reiju couldn't help but look at EC with water waves. Reaching out and pinching Reiju's face, EC picked up the sunglasses from the side and put them on his face. Okay, After Dylan and the others leave, you can ask the navigator to sail towards Tiger King Island. The weather is nice today, perfect for sunbathing. After speaking, EC waved his hand, and the eyes under the sunglasses slowly closed. Seeing this, Reiju touched his cheek that EC had just pinched, and his pretty face flushed slightly. Then, Reiju slowly stood up, packed up the clutter next to him, and left here with the useless clutter. On the other side, after Dylan left, he quickly found Eli, Aldo, and others to convey EC's order. At the moment when the order was conveyed, everyone started to get busy. The materials on hand were quickly put down and handed over to the maids for sorting and transportation. Everyone ordered their troops and horses, put down their subships, and sailed away in different directions. On the dock and deck, Lina and the maids began to carry supplies. At the same time, under the arrangement of Monet, all the scientists on the Dawn were also escorted by Adine and Pius, and sailed in the direction of the kingdom of Helios. Monet soon met Reiju, who was looking for her after arranging this. "Sister Monet," greeting from a distance, Reiju trotted towards Monet. "Huh, Reiju? Is there something wrong?" Seeing this, Monet asked curiously. "Well, there is action." Reiju touched his hair and replied, "Just discovered 6 devil fruit powers. 55 Dylan and the others have gone to deal with 5 devil fruit abilities. The remaining one, Your Highness, let the 3 of us deal with it together. When the supplies are placed, we will start to set off. So, this time I want to ask Sister Monet, how should we cooperate then?" 35 hearing this, Monet was also slightly taken aback, but he didn't expect that he would have this extra task in his absence. However, after thinking for a while, Monet had an idea in his heart. However, before that, Monet took Reiju to retrieve the sugar that was riding around on the operating table. This guy, since sugar and the operating table have become familiar with each other, the operating table has almost become the royal mount for sugar. Every day, the 2 guys stick together, and Sugar sits on the operating table with his gang of toys roaming around on the Dawn. EC basically laughed it off and didn't say much. However, Monet taught Sugar very seriously every time. Of course, granulated sugar basically doesn't listen. Dawn set sail and sailed all the way in the direction of Tiger King Island. EC didn't worry too much about what happened next. In addition to sunbathing every day, the rest of the time is to comprehend one's own kendo and develop one's own haki. Nowadays, although EC has very few opportunities to take action, his own strength still needs to be improved. After all, he has so many subordinates, and his subordinates will rush to do many things. However, at the current level of strength, it is not so simple to want to go further. Therefore, EC can only practice diligently every day and then rely on daily accumulation to continuously improve himself. In the waters of the Grand Line, EC did not send Dylan and others out to collect Swordsman's Saber like North Blue did. With their strength, they're not enough to run amok on the Grand Line. Therefore, in this sea area, EC's focus is more on the Devil Fruit. On the other side, when Dawn sailed towards Tiger King Island, Eli, Dylan, and the others, who had already set off, soon arrived at Kuru Island and Columbine Island respectively. In fact, the 2 islands are not very far from Tianyan Island, which is why Eli and Dylan can arrive so quickly. Kuru Island, Ellie, Shima, and Orton stood on the edge of the island's coast, and on either side of the 3 were sailors who followed. The vigilance of this mad wolf pirate group is very low. Seeing that after he and others landed, there was still no pirate around, She Mastiff couldn't help but despise it. "Don't be careless." Hearing She Mastiff's words, Eli shook his head. Being able to occupy this island shows that the mad wolf pirates are not stupid. If I guess correctly, it should have been discovered as we approached the island. 5 on the side. Orton nodded in agreement. Avery is right. There should be traps on the island. 99, trap. When She Mastiff heard the words of the 2, he snorted softly. The left foot is slowly raised, and the muscles of the foot are rapidly contracted and stretched. In the next instant, She Mastiff hurried out his legs towards the forest not far away. Visible to the naked eye, at the moment when she mastiff kicked out. The phenomenon of air compression suddenly appeared in the front of the left leg of the mastiff. Then, the rolled-up vacuum quickly turned into a sharp, slashing wave and flew towards the forest not far away. Swish, swish, swish. Where the white slashing wave passed, a large tree was instantly cut off horizontally. Rumbling, one tree after another fell, and the dust scattered in the air. At the same time, within the dust, silhouettes hidden in the forest appeared one after another. Is this a trap? Seeing this scene, She-Mastiff's expression was slightly disdainful. Damn it, the dust faded away, and the faces of the captain and two vice-captains of the Crazy Wolf Pirates suddenly became extremely gloomy. It seems that you 270 have nothing left. Squinting at the pirates of the Crazy Wolf Pirates, She-Mastiff stomped his feet and rushed over. If that's the case, then die. Swoosh. Following She-Mastiff's actions, Eli and Orton looked at each other and could see the helplessness in their eyes. However, the two of them did not hesitate in the slightest and rushed behind She-Mastiff. Under the induction of observation Haki, the three of Eli and the others knew very well that the strength of these three devil fruit users was no match for him and others. Cobalt Mole Island. Just when Eli and the others were fighting the wild wolf pirates on Klulu Island. At the same time, under the leadership of Dylan and Aldo, the Apocalypse team also launched an attack on the Brulano pirates on the island. Unlike Kuru Island, when Dylan and the Apocalypse team arrived at Cobalt Mule Island, it happened to be when the Brulano pirates were about to go to sea. At that time, all the members of the Brulano pirates had already boarded the pirate ship. Seeing this situation, Dylan and the Apocalypse team did not hesitate at all. Directly cast Moonwalk to land on the Brulano pirate ship, even in order to prevent the Brulano pirate ship from leaving. Dylan did not hesitate to use his physical strength to cast the Cold Fruit's ability to instantly freeze the nearby seawater. The hard ice imprisoned the pirate ship, making it impossible for the pirate ship to sail. Tempest Kick Cross Slash. 35 Tempest Kick Break. Shave Finger Pistol Machine Gun. Itch on the pirate ship. Dylan freezes the sea to prevent the pirates from escaping. Aldo and the two members of the Apocalypse team continued to cast Tempest Kick in mid-air, slashing waves of slashing waves. The rest of the Apocalypse team members killed Sure Shao and Finger Pistol on the pirate ship. A day later, in front of the Dawn, an island full of tigers appeared in the eyes of EC and others. On the coast of the island, a pirate ship with a black tiger bow was docked there. Tiger King Island. Close at hand. 63 who suffered a loss, won the battle. Monet, I'll leave it to you next. Sitting on the bow of the Dawn, EC pointed to the pirates that started to gather on the shore not far away. At this time, on Tiger King Island, the pirates who were resting on the coast began to gather after seeing the Dawn. At the same time, a burly man with red beard and hair slowly stood up. Little ones, gather and go to war. Oh, let's go to war. 39 Treasure. Treasure. For treasure. The boss is mighty. The boss is invincible. Quick, quick. Brothers, copy the guy. On the Dawn, Monet looked at the pirates who were constantly gathering, and his eyes gradually became cold. Please rest assured, Your Highness, you will never disappoint His Highness. 35 After speaking, Monet gently waved his hand towards the sea. Then, the wind and snow came, covering the sea and forming an icy road leading to Tiger King Island. Reiju, granulated sugar, go to plan. Turning his head and speaking to Reiju and Sugar, Monet's figure turned into endless snowflakes and slowly dissipated. It appeared again that he had come to the front of the black tiger, Afu. At the same time, gusts of wind began to rise, and snowflakes began to fall unconsciously above the sky. Natural ability person. Seeing Monet's ability, the black tiger, Afu, suddenly shrank his pupils. However, in the next second, the corners of the black tiger, Afu's mouth twitched slightly. Eyes widened. The black tiger, Afu, roared at Monet. I'm a black tiger, Afu. You will die. At this moment, the body surface of the black tiger, Afu, began to change. There are strands of tiger's beard on his face, and his body has become more and more burly. The whole body gradually revealed the momentum of tiger hunting. The black tiger digs its heart. The figure flashed suddenly, and the black tiger, Fu, jumped towards Monet in front of him. Monet watched the attack of the black tiger Fu, and the light flashed in his eyes, and the whole person turned into snowflakes scattered around. When he failed, the black tiger Fu did not pause at all, and continued to attack the position where Monet's figure appeared. Mount Tai is on top. 2 dragons play with pearls. Look at my mantis fist. Snake step. Lotus float. Sasori palm. 35 crows take a plane. Elephant kick. 99 hoo. Attack incessantly. The mighty power makes every attack a gust of wind. In this regard, Monet elementalized from time to time to avoid attacks, and from time to time controlled snowflakes to defend and counterattack. For a while, Monet fell into a state of being suppressed because of the unstoppable combo of the black tiger Fu. On the other side, just as the black tiger Fu and Monet were fighting, Reiju and Sugar lead a large number of beast toys to land on Tiger King Island quickly through the icy road. In a short time, the fierce melee quickly sounded. Under the command of Sugar, the Beast Toy Corps fought with many pirates. Beside the Sugar, Reiju released a large amount of poison and controlled the poison to constantly shroud the two of them. All the pirates who tried to rush up to kill the 2 girls were poisoned by the venom controlled by Reiju. On the bow of the Dawn, Issei sits cross-legged and watches the battle on Tiger King Island. A light flashed in his eyes, and under the perception of observation Haki, Issei knew all about the entire battlefield. In the battle between Sugar, Reiju, and pirate minions, it can be said that they have the advantage. The constant attacks of the Beast Legion, who are not afraid of death at all, make the pirates retreat. Wants to behead Reiju and Sugar, but is defended by the poison released by Reiju. For a time, many pirates showed a tendency to rout. On another battlefield, Issei's observation Haki seemed to feel something. His eyes quickly fell on the black tiger, Fu. Armed colored Haki. Haki of this level should have just succeeded in training. Have been hiding. Do you want a fatal blow? Issei couldn't help but murmured a few words in his heart as he watched the battle between the black tiger, Fu, and Monet. However, Issei did not remind Monet of his plans, because Issei recently discovered that Monet is now gradually over-relying on the power of devil fruits. Although I don't know if Reiju reminded Monet or not, this may be an opportunity. The 2-color Haki training manual Noble Phantasm can be said to be the standard equipment of Issei subordinates. However, after so long, Monet is still only an entry-level 2-color Haki. It is conceivable that most of Monet's thoughts are on the development of devil fruits. And now, taking a loss may make Monet change her mentality and let her understand the importance of Haki. There are no strong players who focus on developing devil fruits. Among the Marines, Paulsolino is one of them. However, the Snow fruit and the Glitter fruit are not fruits of the same level of police at all. The attack power of the Snow fruit cannot reach the level of powerful and direct killing of the Glitter fruit. So, for Monet, Haki is compulsory. At this time, on the battlefield, after Monet once again used this elementalization to flash past the black tiger, Fu with a move of the whale's tail. Before Monet could get away, the black tiger, Fu, twisted his upper body. The 5 fingers of the right hand were brought together into a knife shape, and then a layer of black covered the black tiger, Fu's hand knife. Not good. Seeing this scene, Monet's pupils suddenly shrank. At this time, she suddenly remembered what Reiju had said to her before. Although the reward order said that the black tiger Fu would not be armed with Haki, this does not rule out the reason why the black tiger Fu wanted to hide. Boom! The knife slammed into Monet's abdomen, knocking Monet out on the spot. Puff in midair, Monet spewed out a mouthful of blood, and he could no longer maintain his elemental state. Sister, you're not far away. Sugar and Reiju's expressions changed when they saw this scene. Attack! At the critical moment, just when the black tiger Fu was going to pursue the victory, Xiaotang hurriedly controlled dozens of beast toys to bite at the black tiger Fu. Bang, 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 looking at the beast toy that was biting towards him. The black tiger, Fu, smashed them all out with one punch. However, Because of this, Monet got a chance to breathe. After calming the body's blood, Monet hurriedly elementalized and left here. At this moment, Monet felt a little regretful. He was patronizing the development of the snow fruit and neglected Haki's cultivation. Before, when Monet was cultivating, he discovered that Haki's cultivation progress was unusually slow. However, the development of snow and snow fruit is very fast. With EC providing development inspiration and direction, Monet's development of Shueshue fruit is very easy. This also led to Monet's unknowingly favoring the development of snow and snow fruit in his subsequent practice. As a result, Haki's training was gradually neglected. However, this head-on attack by the Black Tiger, Fu, made Monet wake up instantly. However, the battle is not over yet. Monet can only start the second plan with Sugar and Reiju, Siege plus Surprise. Snowflakes fluttered, and Monet's figure appeared beside Sugar and Reiju. Immediately, Xiaotang asked worriedly, "Sister, how are you?" 35 foot, it's fine. Monet shook his head and reached out his hand to wipe the bloodline from the corner of his mouth. Let's start the second plan. Hearing this, Sugar and Reiju nodded. Then, Reiju instantly erupted the poison around him. Under the control of Reiju, the surrounding poison mixed with Monet's snowflakes kept falling on the pirates' heads. At the same time, Sugar also ordered the remaining beast toys to launch a suicide attack on the pirates. Immediately afterwards, Monet hugged the waists of the two women and disappeared instantly in the wind and snow.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.